debate, uncut and after show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to On the Level, Thomas van der Zander, Cannabear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twodwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unamento, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Plain Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Uncut, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are in the info box below this video. And with that, I'll hand across to whoever is in Discord and G+, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
That's what I thought Nathan was mentioning about yesterday.
Yeah, I told them what happened.
You tell us it.
Well, I was working and I put the music on Spotify from playing from my phone. And at some point, I went for a cigarette break, and I didn't realize it was still playing from my phone. So I went to YouTube, and you were live. And yeah, as soon as I click on YouTube, it went on the speakers in the restaurant, so everyone was listening for a few seconds until I realized what was going on. But you were telling someone off. It was funny.
You say I was telling someone off when it connected to the speakers in the restaurant?
Well, you were talking to EMBO and telling him off. And I was interested to see where the conversation was going, you know. So yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was nice.
Very funny.
I told you it's not as bad as though when I was sitting at the dinner table, and we usually shut everything down and we talk. But I had your show on, and my wife looked at me and said, "No, believe me, the language has changed. It's family friendly now." And you went off on somebody bad. I mean, the curses were flying. And I just said, "Well, sometimes we do revert back."
Yeah, I said that a couple of days ago. You know, yes, I've reined it in a lot, but, you know, old habits die hard, don't they?
When they're justified, I don't mind. And those are justified. The only thing I never liked, and you know how does my what taste? I hate that. I don't care about any freaking video game thing that it talking about feedback. I don't need it.
Okie dokie.
We had another long night last night in the after show. We had EMBO, Eyeless, and Negator. The three of them. Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. So that is Discord's version of Mo, Larry, and Scurvy. So what happened?
Well, yeah, what happened?
Well, Negator wanted to know how does sea level works on a sphere. I said, I don't know, because we don't live on a sphere. That's not we measure. Not spherical. It's measured level. That's what it's called, sea level. It measures as such. It's a measurement. But he was asking us how is meant to work sea level on a sphere? How do I know? You cannot have sea level on a sphere.
Right. It doesn't
Sphere that has
comport
no
with their
part level.
balls.
Yeah.
What he's done is
Implying that
he's
how
come in
does
to
it work?
question you about an issue he has with not being able to acquire these measurements.
Exactly.
Okay.
He did that last week with you too, Nathan. When he couldn't comport with a ball, they go into like this freaking this like it don't compute. It don't compute.
Not that it doesn't compute, it just doesn't work on a globe.
Exactly. And it causes them to malfunction.
Fair enough. I mean, if the ballers are coming and sharing their pain because their model doesn't work and they're asking you how to square the circle that they can't square, then just laugh at them. How does sea level work on a curve? It doesn't. It's a contradiction in terms. But that's not what we're measuring, are we? Now, we can make the measurement of a flat plane transpose into a globe to project points out through the globe to the points that you're measuring on the celestial sphere. But no one's doing that. You just measure the angles and use them off a flat plane with a flat plane. Your conversion's completely redundant. It's totally unnecessary and is only in place so that you can believe there's somehow some version that comports with a sphere. It doesn't. You can't get the measurements from a sphere. The sphere only exists because you take those measurements and convert them into sphericity in the first place.
Yeah, they're in pain. They're in pain. Eilish was very aggressive on his tone of voice. They're in pain.
He's the guy that told us Earth was measured flat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When he started interacting, I said to him, "This is my new favorite flat earther. Tell us again how the Earth is measured flat." They don't like. They don't like. I say the same thing about what's his name, Bacon. You know, they cannot be ballers anymore. They need a flat plane. They admitted themselves. Yeah, I'm a flat earther. Yeah, it measures flat. So what's next? Welcome to the club.
Yeah, they still want to be ballers that are on the other side of our argument, telling us that we're stupid. But in reality, like you say, they've both accepted and conceded the way that Earth is measured. Now, if they appreciate how that gets converted into a globe, then they know how their globe religion's built. Well, you can't rightfully then infer in any way, shape, or form that you're actually standing on that model that's been created with the measurements of a flat plane. They can't. So if they're like, I've said this already, I said it at the beginning of the year, there's going to be a certain amount of glurfs that do what was originally called LARPing, like live action role playing as a flat earther. It's like, no, they're not just trying it on for size anymore. They don't have an option. They've got to accept their reality now.
Yeah, bacon's been
Yeah,
fried so many times.
I'll give you the flat plane. They say. I'll give you the flat plane. I'll give you the angles. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. Where do you get them from?
Yeah, Conspiracy Cats disappeared off the scene. He was one of the first to say, yeah, I'll give you a flat plane for these perspective angle representations that can only be described on a flat plane. So what will allow us to have a bit of flat Earth that you need for your claim? That's not giving us anything. It's you accepting that you need a flat plane for this. That's all it is.
Exactly. He had to give it. He ain't giving us nothing. He has no choice.
Right. You got it.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning. Certain things you've got to do
That's when the
flat.
penny dropped for me that time with conspiracy cats. That whole conversation, I was like, oh, shoot. He ain't giving us nothing. He has no choice.
Yeah. When it comes to measuring anything, he's going to measure it flat, and he did. He was just stupid enough to think that we wouldn't realise when he's like, oh, I'll give you a flat plane, like we think we're getting done some sort of favour by him. No, Dumbo, you have to measure it flat. We have to measure it flat. It's measured flat.
Well, in all fairness, Nathan, we did whistle past it for years.
Yeah. Well, when we're pointing it out and they're whistling past it, it's a lot more difficult, isn't it?
Nathan, that video with that young Aussie dude, I just saw it. It's fucking brilliant, bro.
No swearing.
This is the video to share. Wait, you running live already?
I said no swearing.
Oh, okay. Anyway, man, like the way you conducted yourself, dude, everything was chill. The way he was receiving the information, you can see it on his face. The light bulbs are going off. He thanked you for educating him. It was a like brilliant video, dude. This is
Thanks.
the video to share. I will share this video, man.
Thanks.
And I didn't even realize you guys were here. Like, don't you have a live going on right now? So that's not live, right? That was
No.
pre-recorded. What's
No.
on YouTube right now?
Stuff that's on YouTube, I don't. There's no way I'm going to record that app, live stream that app. You never know what's going to happen. So it's all recorded and then heavily
Right. You told
edited
me that
afterwards.
yesterday. Got it. I don't know why I thought you were live right now. That's why I was surprised to see somebody in Discord. All right, fair enough. Sorry.
Oh, so you're talking about now, aren't you? Sorry, I got confused about what. No,
Yeah, right now, like literally right now.
no, we're not live. We'll be
We're
live
live
in
on
about
YouTube.
an hour and a quarter, something like
All right, let me check, man. Yeah, I have you premiere. It says premiere. The Greeks knew it's flat.
that. Oh, right, that's a pre-recorded video. Now I understand what you mean. Yes, there's a video that's going to be
Okay,
that's just started.
gotcha. Anyway, I will share that last video that I just saw, man, with Ozzy, man. That was brilliant, dude. All right.
Nathan,
Yes.
that Thai girl, why didn't you at least encourage her a little bit and say, You're not ugly? Because she said, I don't want to show my face. I'm so ugly. Unless you didn't hear her. I was like, Geez, Nathan's cold. You could have just said, What do you mean you're ugly?
No.
Yeah, but we still have people here in the house, yeah, saying that the horizon rises to eye level. And then
That's
we have
annoying.
ballers coming in saying that it doesn't. And it's a struggle, to tell other flat earthers that the horizon doesn't rise to eye level. It appears to rise as you rise, it rises with you, but your height of eye is the height above the horizontal level. So the horizon doesn't rise to eye level.
No. It's
They
where we calculate dip because the horizon's formed with the ground level, and if you're rising above it, it's going to be lower than you.
Yeah, but that's more annoying. The things flat earthers say. Could deal with the things ballers say. But when flat earthers say stupid things, it just keeps us held back.
Don't worry about it. We just do what we do. Why are you concerned about what other flat earthers say?
Well, yeah, I agree. We bang the drum slowly because that's what everybody seems to see. Defeats the nonsense. That's what gets put out there. And our stuff is getting like leaking out, but it's not overwhelming the way it should be. I mean, what we talk about here, this is what should be talked about abroad. It just gets a little frustrating.
You want the cherry on the cake from last night? Andy, hold my
Yes,
beer.
please.
Remember? Remember Andy, hold my beer from the land of the misfit toys? Yeah, it was here last night, talking about the uprising Earth. Yeah, another one. Claims to be a flat earther, but yeah, the Earth is rising apparently. I asked him, what about clouds? Are they rising as well? He says everything goes up together.
Never mind the clouds.
Hello, Nate. Hello, Neil.
Hello.
How are you today, my friend?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, just same old, same old.
Is he there?
He is. He's standing right next to me.
I mean, generally, is the shop busy?
It's just steady, steady. Lots of repairs.
Is Jado in the house?
Sorry,
Not
who,
yet.
Neil?
No, I was asking if Jado's in the house.
Whose house?
Oh, Jado's not in the house yet, Neil. Nathan, what do you want to do with that Embo guy? You want him show banned, or you want to give him more chances to? Because
That's
he's determined to come back and disrupt the show, and he obviously doesn't listen. And
you're asking the
so it's
wrong
your
person.
call.
I don't know.
No, man, it's your show, bro. Like you want to allow him to, you know what I mean? Like to disrupt the show. To like obviously he doesn't listen.
Is he here
He
now?
doesn't care what you say. So,
Why is he here
so
right
it's
this
a simple
moment?
button at the show. No, he's not, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna come back.
I mean, you're a mod in the server, right?
Yes, but it's your show, so it's I'm not. You know what I mean? Like we're not gonna time out anybody that you don't want him timed out.
I,
If
I,
you think he's too much, all you have to say is like, oh, you can press the same button. So bad.
fine.
That's
I'll
it.
do exactly that then. If he comes and he's causing any sort of trouble whatsoever, I'll just say, and you'll presumably pick up on it immediately.
I was just going to say that.
Perfect.
Why don't you just do what they do on the politics server? They let them in, and once they disrupt again, they mute them.
Yeah, we did that yesterday or the other day when when he didn't listen for the 5 times. You asked him which gas goes down, he wouldn't answer. You said server mute him. We did, and disconnected him. But he can always come back the next day. That's Nathan's rule. So if
Yeah,
you want him show
you'll be
banned, you just
warmly welcome back the next day.
right. But once he's show banned, he can't come back the next day. He can't cause the same troubles the next day. So it's Nathan's call.
Yeah, like I say, he's
Yeah, but
welcome back. Unless they do something particularly egregious, then they're always welcome back.
I told him last night the hydrological cycle debunks gravity. Water evaporates, yeah, it dissipates, and then it
Yep.
condensates
Yeah,
back
but
again in the
George,
formation of
this is what
clouds. And yeah,
this guy
that
claims.
debunks gravity on
Gases
its
have
own.
a downward acceleration, therefore
No,
container not necessary.
no.
Like, do you talk to that person?
Yeah,
I
but up
don't.
and down is in relation to a horizontal plane. In gases, they don't behave like that. They disperse in all vectors. You have winds in different vectors at different heights. That's not a gas behavior.
No, my only point is how many times can you go over this with the same person, day in and day out?
I
Like,
understand, but eventually the
you know what I
pendulum
mean?
will drop. Yeah, eventually the pendulum will drop.
They used to say gases don't count.
Yeah, but they have considered in some of the points. They have to consider other points as well in order to close the circuit, let's say.
But they all even have different apologetics. Like Bacon says, the container is at the confines of the universe because there's pressure in the vacuum of space.
Yeah, but that's pretty
Yeah,
much what
like literally,
NASA
these are
said.
the things they
Yeah,
say. So
yeah, but that's the claim of NASA. That's the right claim because the vacuum of space starts at sea level, 14.7 psi, and the gradient it doesn't reach zero, but nearly zero, and actually it's still expanding into what we don't know. But that's the claim.
It's a strong religion that they instituted. You got to at least admit that.
Yes, sir. That's why the first thing you gotta do is gotta take away the vacuum of space,
Yeah,
because that
you
causes
take
the
away the
glitch in their
heaven.
mind. Once, you know,
I missed last night's show, but I listened to it back today. I enjoyed your conversation on the intricacies of flatness. I've been a plasterer for 35 years, and I felt it. I was spewing. I missed it. It would have been my time to shine last night.
Oh, were you here listening, or you remember and heard it after the fact?
No, I'm in Australia, so I generally fall asleep, and I just listened to the replay today. So
Oh, okay.
I try
Yeah.
to catch the live shows, but usually they run pretty late into the night, and then you started late last night. So
Well,
You're
there's a
talking
couple
about
of
the
people that
flat
are critical
walls?
of that discussion, which I felt was a perfectly worthy discussion of the show, and I'm glad you appreciated it, because it's a nuance that, it does need discussing. It's fundamental to what we do here.
yeah, no, I enjoy it. It's good to. Everyone has their take on it, don't they?
Yeah, but when you're doing plastering, you're going for smooth. You don't say it's nice and flat, do
Correct.
you? Or do you say it's nice and
That's
smooth?
correct. Well, the manufacturers of plasterboard here, they state with their products there's no such thing as a flat surface. So you're correct. You're going for smooth.
What you do
You
on the
know,
walls, I do. What you do on the walls, I do on the floors. I level my floors with patch. I mean, I do taping
oh
too,
yeah,
but when you're doing that, you're going for smooth.
you'd use self-leveling, ready mix cements and things like that, wouldn't you? You just pour them on the floor. Some of those self-leveling compounds.
Yeah, you can, but
Or is
I
that?
I do I do
Yeah,
a lot of it by hand because they don't want to pay for the self
yeah,
leveling. So I mix it
yeah.
up
It is.
bucket at a time, pour it out, and level it out with my patch and trowel.
Yeah, yeah. That self-leveling stuff's very expensive. It is here anyway.
Yeah, it's brilliant though.
Yeah, well, like you said, you want smooth, but you can have a lovely looking finish. Proud as punch, looks great, and then you get a glancing side light across it, and suddenly it looks like it's railway tracks.
Yep.
So there's a lot in lighting.
When you get that sun glaring in on it and you're looking at it from the side, you see how not flat it is.
Yeah, yeah. Even like in passageways, you have downlights will put a shining light down your nice fresh finished wall, and suddenly you can see the joins. So yeah,
What about the
lighting's
ceiling? What about the ceiling?
well, same if you have a glancing light.
No, but
Reflections off. Sorry, go on.
the ceiling might feel on the touch smooth, might have a hump.
Well, you don't want that, but yes, it
Yeah, you
could
don't
have.
want that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but when you pass the finish touch on the ceiling and on the touch, it feels smooth and with no
correct,
imperfections. When you put a straight edge into the ceiling, if there's a hump, you're going to notice.
correct. Yeah, I think it might have been John said last night, and it goes back to a bit what I said about there is no flat surface. If you magnify a surface enough, it's always going to be rough. Even I think like glass still isn't completely flat technically,
Yeah,
but
but
you're
I
certainly
Well,
can
getting
level a
into
floor though.
pedantics, aren't you?
when you
Yeah, but
when you're doing this type of jobs, you try to reach always perfection, and
Yeah,
the old school ones, the old school ways you would have you would pass the levels on all the corners, and you will have that as a reference point for your height and everything else. All of your levels will go from a benchmark. That's the word.
That's what I was just going to say, Georgie. I can level a floor. You do that when you're doing the mud floors. You are actually working with a 12-foot level, and you're throwing the mud into the whatever you're leveling, and you're pulling your level down, and you're screeding it, going left and right, and you're pulling it, and eventually that floor is level, right on the freaking, right on the watermark, and every corner into the center, you can get that floor 100% level.
Yeah, indeed, we do with runners. Yeah, so we pass the levels in some points, and then we connect these points with what we call runners, and then the straight edge between those runners and to level it out. So yeah, as close as you can to perfection.
Yeah, close as you can. It's the key word, I guess. Everything starts from your foundation. The closer it is to start with, the better the whole job flows. I think.
Yeah, of course, everyone wants to do a job that is acceptable by whoever engineer going to inspect your job. You know, you want to be paid for what you've done, so you want the best perfection you can get.
But the point of this discussion is that there's a huge amount of nuance when it comes to that one word, flat, because it's got dozens of definitions, and depending on the context of the conversation, you can describe things as flat when you're using that word to mean running parallel with the horizon, horizontal, because that's part of one of the definitions of flat. But flat can mean many different things to many different people. So it sounds to me like you're siding with Brian in that regard. Be more specific about if you're going to use flat to mean it's horizontal, say horizontal. Why leave the ambiguity?
Exactly, but walls are raised horizontally; they're flat. That's what makes walls flat. Bricks are laid one by one horizontally to the line. They are raised on the vertical. I understand that, but they are raised and laid on the horizontal to the line, brick by brick. Walls are flat.
I think it comes to surface. The word surface in there, like you can have a vaulted or a curved ceiling. It's definitely not horizontal, but the surface of it still has to be flat or smooth. It's like you said last night. There's so many definitions to the word flat, meanings for it. So I don't think anyone's wrong, but you could get bogged down arguing the point, can't you?
Yeah, but I definitely thought the conversation was worthy.
Definitely. Shame I missed it.
I think that video's now finished premiering. My chat with that Greek guy yesterday. Sometimes you end up with a bazillion little tiny clips from Omi or whatever it's called. Whereas yesterday it ended up being a 50-minute discussion with one guy. So that's what I published.
Well, no matter what the definition you have for the word flat, it doesn't fit on a sphere.
Speaking of publishing, how's the book, Nathan?
Need to start finishing it off and polishing it up. Everyone's back
Great.
off their holiday. There's been about a 2 or 3 week hiatus on it, to be honest. Yeah, it's coming along nicely.
Yeah, I haven't. It's it was getting talked about for a while there, but it's been a bit quiet.
Because everyone went on holiday while we were doing the rewrites.
Yeah.
To dip or not to dip? That's the question.
Probably start setting up for the live show at some point. It's just cooled down enough for me to turn the other screen on. I'll do it later.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
Welcome to
man.
Flat Earth.
Can you imagine, out of the blue, a baller comes to you and asks you that question?
If you can't have flat surfaces on a sphere, you can't have level on a sphere. Don't work.
I think
Welcome
that's
to
the
Flat
reason why they're
Earth.
confused. I think that's the reason why they're confused in asking that question, because they must have realized by now that spheres they don't have level parts or horizontal planes. That's why they're intrigued now. How is it meant to work on the sphere? Because they have a belief still that they live on the sphere. They know that it doesn't work on the sphere.
Yeah, because it goes back to their belief. We all know we're on a sphere. It has to be. This can't work. We're on a sphere. It has to work. You see, instead of the penny dropping, doubling down. Like when a penny dropped for me with conspiracy cats, I didn't resist. I welcomed the information.
Wait until you hear a question I have to the panel. Actually, I could ask it now. I was asked several times to ask this question to the panel, and the other day, a person pointed out to me that I got the chance and I didn't ask. I feel compelled to ask. It's so ridiculous, man. Neil, I'm going to ask you. You're a member of the panel. Is a rectangle geometry? I'll ask again.
Is it what?
Is a
Yes.
rectangle geometry?
Yeah, shapes.
Yeah, that's the question they wanted me to ask the panel.
Why?
Well, a good question, because 10th man brought in a rectangle describing the co-altitude angle. You know, there's a
Right.
rectangle, so you have four 90-degree angles. They still want to do the elevation angle from the co-altitude, you see. But the question wasn't that. The
All right,
question
'cause
is a
rectangle kills
rectangle
them.
geometry? Yeah, they're in pain. They don't even know how to form a question, man, properly. You can guess who asked that question, yeah?
Ember.
It was probably Bacon or EMBO.
Negative.
Was it humble?
Yep, spot on.
Oh, I forgot about him. Humble H is not a flat earther.
No, he's not. He's not. He's an earther, and I always bring that to his attention. Hey, Jado is here. Neil was asking about Jado. He's here now. Oh, we
Hello?
couldn't get any of that, Jado.
Sorry, did someone say my name?
I was just saying welcome.
Well, thank you.
I was just making conversation. Nathan is making himself a coffee.
Caffeine
My
addiction
membership is
is
up.
bad.
Where's Jado?
Shadow, please don't talk bad about coffee, bro.
Sorry, say again.
Just a semi joke. Don't talk bad shit about coffee, man.
Yeah, your mic is a bit muffled. Yeah, we got the joke.
Jado. You there, Jado?
Yes, mate. Hello.
Do you mind me asking, what part of Australia do you live in?
The most locked down, oppressed state
Victoria.
in the history of the universe. Correct.
Sorry to hear that. I'm in one of the better ones. I'm in Queensland. Just wondering if you saw the moon tonight. It's pretty nice, full moon.
I've been looking at it for the last couple of nights. Yeah,
Pretty
I just
awesome.
was outside for the last 15 minutes looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic moonrise tonight.
Yeah, I caught it here. It was very
Oh.
nice. I tend to look at it almost nightly, or at least try and go out and observe the moon every night.
I actually
Yeah.
caught it in a rise. So when I first walked my dog about an hour and a half ago, I caught it in its rise, and I caught it in a ring of, like, occasionally you see it in a ring of clouds where it looks like the clouds are behind it and in front of it.
Yes.
Okay.
And I was like walking my dog and trying to take photos at the same time with my Samsung. And what I thought were beautiful photos, and when I got back home and I looked at them, they're all muffled and out of focus, and I was spewing because it was such a beautiful, picturesque moon. But anyway, so be it.
Yeah,
My
last night was
membership's up.
perfectly
So
visible.
I'm going to be
It was a
ready
great.
today.
Yeah, Neil does that.
Neil the panda.
Yeah, kill the conversation, then just go silent. Thanks, Neil.
I'm sorry. Was somebody talking to me?
No, someone was talking and then you interrupted. Now there's a prolonged silence while you don't say anything.
Oh, figures. Neil's to blame again, right? Who interrupted me when I came in to just say I'm going to be ready for memberships today?
Well, that was you interrupting two other people talking, Daz and Jardo, but that's fine.
Sorry if I interrupted. Sometimes I don't hear. You know, I'm in a warehouse, I'm working. But I'll go on mute.
It's all good as you and I are the only ones talking now, Neil.
Why? The Discord's not connected?
No. Everyone's just super polite, so when you start talking, they stop.
Oh, so Neil's not polite. That's what you're saying.
Well, talking through the middle of an end of a conversation is a little bit rude.
Yeah, if I would have done it deliberately, but I did not hear anybody speaking when I started speaking. There's a delay.
Using the Chinese
Hey, Neil,
satellite
can I?
again.
Using the Chinese what? And then ask your question, Jardo. Go ahead, George.
No, Neil must be using the Chinese satellite again.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. What were you going to ask, Jardo?
No, we just missed a joke. I was just going to say, hey, Neil, can I ask a question? And then I was going to leave a big, massive pause.
That would have been funny.
But anyway, Neil, can I ask you a question? Seriously?
Shoot.
What do you reckon, Neil?
I'm waiting for the question.
Just
Oh,
asked
that's
you.
the joke.
Does it happen?
That's a good question.
You want to ask him again? There you go. What do you reckon?
Agree 100%. Why
Probably-
can't I buy my own membership?
Probably
Okay.
on a Thursday.
The reason I can't is it's more exciting to try and get it.
Not buying, Jardo. He's just not buying.
I may or may not do memberships today. I'll got to speak to the accountant when she gets home.
I'm going to be ready
I mean, you're going to be ready. Ugh.
because the first one who types anything in after the memberships are purchased gets a membership. If he buys 10, the first 10 people that type something get a membership.
That's so.
Yes.
I'll take your word for it.
Now, the only reason I got one last time was because Jado purchased me one personally, I think, because I didn't type anything in and I got a membership.
What do you want to do then? If we've not got a video to cover today, cover one of mine. Do a shameless plug for all my Omi content, as that's incredibly popular. So why not plug it? Unless anybody objects or can find a different video.
I think those videos are pretty cringe. I'm just saying.
Pretty cringe. Did you say they're pretty cringe?
Yeah, cringe.
Okay, tell me more.
It's just, I don't know. Just me, but I'm just uncomfortable with the perceived age of some of the participants. That's me.
Yeah, fair enough.
We
I
have
was in
another Brian in the
pre-kindergarten.
house.
I was in pre-kindergarten when I started watching like mature movies. I don't share the aversion to teaching someone something that's maybe a little bit advanced for them.
I don't know about advanced. I gauge it based on the individual and their intellect as opposed to their age. In terms of their age, they're all over 18, but I still get the objection regardless of if they're over 18. They're very young. All of them on that app are young. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some exceptions to that. I'm obviously on there, I'm not young. And some of the people I talk to are similar age or slightly younger to myself. But for the most part, they are. Now, if they're under 18, I just don't want to talk to them because I don't want to talk to children. That doesn't interest me. But I do want to talk to young adults. Now, yeah, they are young, but that doesn't fuss me. Now, there's going to be a certain handful of young adults that I just don't want to talk to either because they're just either too stupid or uncooperative or they swear too much or whatever. There's a lot of people who are plenty old enough to be talking but just still make it to the cutting room floor for whatever reason. Now, again, there's been certain instances, again, they haven't necessarily made it to videos, where there'll be two people in the room. One's 18 and one's not. One's, let's say, 16 or 17. And what I'll say is, ideally, keep the person who's under 18 out of the conversation. They can listen. And there's been other instances where somebody's been 17 or 16, and I've gone, you seem smart enough to have this conversation. I had to explain this to my wife the other day, because we watched the first Detractor video, and that was something the first Detractor video focused on. These people are kids. That's his attitude, or was his attitude. And I said to my wife, well, number one, they're not. You know, I check their ages. If they're willing to lie about their age, but are of intellect high enough to sustain the conversation, so be it. Now, because there's so much coverage on YouTube about PDF files, that people feel that any interaction with anybody who's underage of consent is not allowed. Now, we're not discussing matters of a sexual nature. We're discussing the nature of geography and Earth. It's not a risque subject. Now, it is, but just not for those reasons. So, the example I gave my wife was, look at someone like Mr. Beast. He's in the news currently. Why? Well, because of not safe for work content that's being discussed in Discord servers that have got kids from 13 and up in. That is to say that for that channel, which is directly aimed at that age group, they allow moderated discussions with young teenagers. Perfectly permissible. You can run your own YouTube channel from, I think it's 13 years old. That might have changed in recent years. I'll have to double check. But the last time I checked, that was the age you could run a YouTube channel. Like, start one up with your own email, etc. So based on that, I have no issue talking to almost anybody, but I'd prefer, my preference, is to talk to people over 18. But there's no regulations, there's no rules, there's nothing stopping me talking to anybody of any age. Yeah? I've got 2 kids for a start. And what am I going to do? Not talk to one of them because they're 8? No, there's no issue talking to anybody of any age, unless you've got malicious intentions. Now, currently, Mr. Beast is in the news because certain employees of his have taken advantage of their interaction with young teenagers. Now, for that very reason, because I don't even want the perception of that to be the case, I specifically asked them their age and not go out of my way, but attempt to only discuss the subject with adults. Now, some of these adults look really young, but what you don't get to see in the edit, because it's boring, is the 5 to 10 minutes I spend discussing a random subject with them to gauge if they're lying. Now, normally I'll call them immediately. Neil, you've sat around, back me up. Normally, I'll ask their age, and if they say 18 and they don't look it, I'll immediately call them out as being a liar. Immediately. And if their response doesn't please me, I'll just spin on immediately. Because there's no need to lie. Now, if on the other hand they say 17, after a 20-second conversation that they seem reasonably intelligent in, I'll have to make a call in that moment. Do I want to satisfy my own preference to not discuss this subject with someone under 18? And it is literally just my preference. Completely arbitrary. But so that criticism isn't something that's potentially ever going to get, any weight. There isn't any weight to it. It's just our opponents want to pick anything. Now, Jardot's not our opponent. He just says he finds it, quote, cringe that me talking to younger people isn't something he enjoys watching. Now, given that 95% of the response has been overwhelmingly positive, you can't please all of the people all of the time. This is the show that Jardot obviously finds preferable. I still run it, and you can't please all the people all the time. So I will take on board what's being said, and if there's a more substantive reason why it would be cringeworthy, then I'll try and hone what I do. Now, if it's only cringeworthy because the people are sprightly faced, not a lot I can do about that. To a certain degree, I don't get to pick and choose who wants to talk to me. They've got a next button too. They only have to just take a dislike to my face and they can press next. So, it's beggars being choosers to a certain degree and my own preferences in terms of who I want to talk to. But I'm not going to, I'll take it on the chin. I will listen when people say, no, somebody who's triple the age of the person interacted with can be cringe. We go, yeah, I get that. Totally get it.
I find it weird to think that somebody thinks that because you're not 50 or 40 or 30, you can't have an intelligent conversation, though. Because I'm pretty sure I talk to ballers of 50 years old and they can't comprehend, whereas an 18-year-old is a bit more open-minded.
Exactly. It's not age, it's intelligence level. And sometimes the people who are over 18 that do want to interact with me aren't that intelligent. And you have to pitch what you're trying to get across to an audience with them as your canvas in a very particular way so they don't give up on the conversation immediately. It's an art form that I'm only just starting to hone. So I want every criticism that there is. Certain criticisms I'm not going to be able to overcome, though.
Yeah, it's a hard audience that you've chosen. Yeah, definitely. But all the more rewarding when you like the Aussie, his little skit. That was rewarding, worthwhile.
Yeah, that came across in the edit. So for the most part, because I want them to be as short as possible, as snappy as possible, I'm editing out every little bit of silence. Whereas there was two particular moments with that guy who gave himself the nickname Aussie, where one was where he's like, so you're saying it's flat, and he does a double take, and you can see what's going on in his mind with his look to the camera. And then he does the same thing when I say space is fake, off the cuff. And there's a little pause, and you see the look of contemplation. It's written all over him. Now, he doesn't know that, but that moment, typically because it's in a silence, would have got edited out. But I just by chance was looking at the screen as I'm editing. I normally edit based on sound. But in this case, because it's obviously got people's faces on, you do have to glance up occasionally during editing and go, what are they actually doing in this moment of silence? Is it important? And with him, there was a couple of moments that just coincidentally were in pauses where the look of contemplation is so obvious. What's going through his mind is really clear to the audience because it's written all over him.
But I think if they're not that indoctrinated, they haven't got the spell cast over them so deeply. Somebody at 30 or 40, you're not going to get that reaction, are you? That sort of clue that they actually understand what you're saying. Then there would just be the no.
Well, that happened yesterday. There was a Greek guy. I've just published it literally in the last 10 minutes. And he was a bit like that because he was like, no, I never really believed we went to the moon. And he's like, well, could we all be in artificial intelligence? As in, are we in a simulation? In other words, you can tell that he's a particularly open-minded kind of guy. So with that guy, when I was like, well, up until 20 minutes ago, you thought you were on a ball. He's like, I didn't say that. I'm like, yeah, but you were educated in that. I'm like, I've thought about this enough to know how to get out of this question. Should somebody say, well, actually, I didn't ever declare that I was on that ball, even though I've only just been told I'm not on it. It's like, no, but you were educated in it. But he was almost defensive when I suggested he was part of the heliocentric religion. He's like, well, actually, no. He didn't say it because I think because he was Greek, he did on several occasions say he lacked the language capability to get across this. So I feel justified reading between the lines. But he was basically saying, look, I'm open-minded enough to not have just carte blanche accepted what I was taught in school. In fact, I'm very skeptical and have lots of other, in some instances, quite wild and carefree ideas about what we might be and how we might be, etc., etc. So he took umbrage with me suggesting that he was a heliocentrist, which was a first. But he was probably in his, at least early 30s, probably older.
Yeah, but they get harder to find that open. The older they get.
Yeah, he would have probably been like that forever. It's like, are there any miserable old men? Well, no, there's just miserable men that get old because they were always miserable. And if you're just staunch heliocentrist set in your ways and that's it, you're never going to change. It's leopards, isn't it? They don't change their spots. And there's a certain type of person that's open-minded and a certain type of person that's like, no, I've learnt that now. So how dare you tell me it's wrong? I've already dedicated that to a significant chunk of my brain. How dare you make me in any way alter what has already been dedicated to memory?
I still call it the spell. Can't get away from that now.
Yeah, that was again true with that Greek guy, because at some point he's talking about it was in a conversation that did actually hack out of the edit, because he's talking about solar panels, and it was too outlandish even for me, so I hacked it out. But in so doing, he's talking about how the heat of the glass is going to affect the atmosphere. So I kept a little bit of it just for the context of the conversation that continued would make sense. But I said, well, look, you're taking umbrage, although I didn't use this word, with me suggesting you're a heliocentrist, but you've just claimed we've got sphere-shaped air. And about halfway through the explanation, rather than getting that, what I'm looking for with that particular format, that penny drop moment, he's interrupting me going, yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? It's almost stealing my thunder, because I don't need to wait for the moment where the penny drops. He's already comprehended it halfway through the sentence, because he's open-minded enough to be accepting what I'm saying. So it was kind of weird conversation, because I'm getting rumpused, but I'm getting rumpused with him going, yeah, you don't need to carry on this sentence, I get it. But he's maybe second or third language is English, therefore his interruption is coherent enough for me to get, no, this guy's trying to stop me because he already agrees.
Are you talking about the guy who brought up solar panels? Because
Yeah.
I did come back in and I heard you talking to somebody like that.
Yeah, that's the only guy I talked to yesterday.
Yeah, so I was privy to that. That was pretty good. You're right. He was rumpusing you, but in a good way, because he was understanding.
Yeah, it's not like I
You need
must
a horizontal
interrupt you.
plane.
I must interrupt you and stop you to tell you that you've forgotten to remember that you're on a ball halfway through my explanation of how we're measuring something flat. I get to saying, well, look, we measure angles to Polaris, so you've got a flat plane and you take it. It'd be like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, solar panels normally are installed 42 degrees of elevation, facing south.
There you go.
It requires
Gonna need a flat plane for
it
that.
requires a horizontal plane. Yeah, correct.
Same with satellite dishes.
I don't think I heard that one yet, Nathan, but that's the thing. That's how everybody should react. Once you understand what's being carried out and the requirements of that elevation angle measurement using the surface of Earth, and it has to be horizontal and level, the penny should just drop immediately.
Yes and no. So with that guy, it did, because he's not married to the globe. He doesn't care that it's being disproven. He just wants to comprehend it. So as it's being explained, as you're suggesting, this is where you're right, it ain't that complicated, is it? So it should be the case that someone's interrupting me halfway through the explanation. We just take an angle, don't you? There's the ground and there's the light and there's the angle between the two. It's not that complicated. Well, after one brief explanation, when it's being reiterated, repeated, you would expect the person to interrupt you and go, no, I already understand this. It wasn't very complicated. It's only complicated when, what do you mean we're measuring the surface of the Earth flat? It's curving. That does not compute. We must stop this discussion and insert the globe so it functions with my belief. We can't carry on this conversation till that's been done. You talked about it earlier, right? You said that Negator had come in to say, how does it work again with this flat surface we're measuring with it doesn't work with a ball. Why are you coming in appealing to us to salvage your bleeding religion? Sad.
And that's when they've got to change definitions of level to curved. They've got to do one or two things, haven't they? You know,
Yeah.
and one of them is we have to change level to curve because it can work then.
Can't do that. Level is a measurement. No part higher or lower than the other is a measurement. It's called sea level. It's been measured to be level. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the name level in it.
Because it's derived from an average, you're deriving lots and lots of varying horizontal planes of reference and taking the average to give you an overall horizontal plane of reference you can use as an average. Well, if any of them were curving, you couldn't be getting an average of level from them as a combined, useful, utilizable tool for measuring things like elevation for the entirety of the surface, which is flat. But they can't do that with a ball in any way, shape, or form. So they just have to bastardize the definition and have it contradict itself by saying that the outside edge of a sphere comports with the level of the water. Well, the level of the water isn't level if you've just plonked it on the outside edge of a sphere. Number one, you can't put water on the outside edge of a spherical surface because it finds and maintains level. That's what water does. How is it phrased in the flat earth community? Water finds its level, or water at rest is level. Well, yeah, absolutely correct. One of the few things that's actually on the table at the Feast of Nonsense that's true. It's just tied immediately to a horizon that doesn't change as you raise in elevation. It only appears to rise with eye level. In reality, the thing you're looking at is formed with the ground that's below you. So it's going to drop to a certain extent as you raise above the ground that forms the horizon you're looking at. It doesn't change its horizontal nature. But that's how Feast of Nonsense works, doesn't it? They give you a little nugget and tie it in with something completely wrong.
Yeah, we get level from liquid water.
Yeah.
It's from the behavior of water that we get the level from. So when you take a piece of water and put it in an instrument, and you put it in sort of a balance where you have the same amount of liquid both sides and the bubble in the center, yeah, it's called level.
Yeah, they were
You're
talking about it
using-
earlier, the builders. Somebody somewhere is going to figure out how to get any liquid that can combine with a mixture that forms concrete to spread out, find and maintain level at rest, and then set as concrete. But that's going to take somebody some time because you've got something that's going to be eventually hardening, very, very brittle, but nevertheless becoming a solid that needs to utilize a property of itself when it's liquid, that's finding and maintaining a level. Well, the slop that is concrete doesn't typically do that. It's big blobs of, something that's eventually going to go very hard like stone. So somebody somewhere has figured out how to get that to do that, to utilize a property of liquid like water, but within the mixture of something that's completely contrary to that when it's, it's a completely different state when it's dry. But that's going to cost a lot of money, isn't it? So what do you do if you haven't got the money? Well, you pay Neil.
Well, they don't introduce gravel into it, so they don't introduce the humps. It's just pretty much liquid, a bit of sand, and lots of water and cement. So as liquid as possible. When it hardens, you get the concrete without the gravel in it.
Sure.
Yeah, you do get self-leveling compounds. I have to have it done in my house when I wanted a wooden floor putting down, and the asphalt floor that I had was all dipped and it wasn't level basically. So a guy come in with some self-leveling solution and just poured it on the floor and spread it out a little bit, and it just set nice and level.
That depends. Depends on what
Go
he
on.
had his gauges set on with the rake. If he had it set to a 1/2 inch and he poured his self-leveling properly and ran the rake over that 1/2 inch and just left it alone, then it will all set to that height.
Yeah, it just need to be contained. That's the only requirement.
actually amazing how that self-level works. I mean, it's crazy because it just floats out all by itself, finds the parts that are not.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
Jonah, can we say good morning to Dude? Hello, Dude.
Morning,
Dude is
dude.
one of the newer members. He's a globe believer, and he thinks the only reason why we don't believe in the globe is because we haven't read enough books. Dude, if you're there, good morning.
You must be reading them heliocentric books, maybe.
Yeah, man. I even asked him which books are those, and he said like it's quite a few books. And I pressed
Well,
it on
are
it. I
they the
said, "Can
books
you
that I
tell
was
me which
educated
books?"
with in school?
I don't know, man. That was my question. I
Which
want to
books
see
he's
which
talking
books.
about? He's talking about Thunderbirds,
Hello, dude, if
no?
you're there. If not, no pressure.
Or is it Flash Gordon?
I spoke to
No
dude
pressure.
a while ago. I can't remember what topic we was talking about. It wasn't, the conversation didn't get out of hand. We may have been speaking about celestial navigation. I can't quite remember, but we did come to loggerheads in the respect of it. I think dude was maybe denying that you could use the surface of Earth to obtain an elevation angle. That may have been the conversation, but I think I've spoke to him probably 12 months ago,
Wait,
but his name rings a bell.
he denied that?
I think
No,
so.
definitely it wasn't 12 months ago. It can't be more than a
Well,
couple of months. He's
I'm
one
gonna
of the newer
debunk.
members.
I'm gonna debunk his book with my book.
What's your book, George?
Narnia.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one, that.
I
Well,
could
you
use
could
Harry
get any
Potter, but I
celestial
prefer
navigation
Narnia.
book, right?
No, it's easy to debunk Narnia with Narnia, isn't it?
I mean, I don't know. Dude
Well,
might
but
feel threatened, but like, if dude is a globe believer, all we're asking is, don't be afraid to speak up, dude. Just, we're sort of looking for people to come in and provide some evidence of why you think you live on a globe. We'll give you the chance to speak about that. But if you're saying things that are contradicting or begging the question, or we can point out are incorrect, we will sort of interrupt you and tell you why that is in the nicest possible way. So we are looking for that. We're wondering what the globe evidence is that you think you have. So if you have any, please, could you let us know? We won't bite.
isn't it sad that you have to beg?
Please, dude.
If he's not going to bite, tell us more about the LARPerism that's going on with these long-standing glyphs that now want you to justify how sea level will work. Is it LARPing?
He was around last night. He didn't open his mic when I was around.
Because that's what I assume people are going to come in for now, right? The end was reached quite some time ago, so the attempt to come in and sort of try on a bit of flat Earth, put a bit of flat Earth coat on, ask about how the flat Earth measurements might work with the globe, to me is them starting on their road of tacit acceptance of this subject in terms of how Earth's measured. They're already realising it slowly, aren't they? That's what I'm driving at, George.
Yeah, exactly. I actually pointed out that even though we are censored, they managed to find their way here. And I'm sure they have questions. They just need to open their mics and ask the questions.
One deck said he was looking for glow proof. I stopped looking for that ages ago.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to ruin one deck's appeal, but then Neil demeaned him greatly by saying he was begging, so I didn't really have to do that.
Okay. But yeah, all the stuff you see that keeps resurfacing, it seems as like it's the same mistakes, the same problems. The main one I noticed is people just don't understand perspective. That's the main one.
They
The main
shouldn't
culprit.
need to. That grieves me greatly, actually. I'm not knocking you, Righteous, but we have no reason to explain or justify what perspective is or how it works or what it does. They have a failed claim, don't they?
I don't know if I would totally agree with that because even though we can understand it to an extent, there may be some things we don't understand about it, right? Like some people are so far off at understanding perspective, they don't think there should ever be an horizon on FE, right? Like these guys really don't understand perspective. But then there's some other extent to perspective. Like I knew what perspective was to an extent. I used to draw as a kid, but one of the final
Just before you
pieces that
go on,
like
just stop because I'll lose track. So all I'm hearing in the last statement was my opponent flips the burden. That's what I just heard. They told you
no,
what it
I was
doesn't
just
do on a
talking
flat
about.
Earth, right? They told you what a horizon wouldn't do on a flat Earth.
Oh yeah, in terms of that, no, no, that wasn't it. I was just talking to somebody, somebody very prominent. You guys debated this guy a long time. I'm not going to say who his name is, but I had him one time in Discord, and it just dawned on me. Wait a second, is this guy saying there shouldn't be an horizon on an FE? And I asked him, and he said no, and I was shocked. I was like shocked. And since then, I've heard more people on that side say the same thing, and
But that's
I
their
just
claim. If that's what they want to believe because of their indoctrination into a mathematics that's utilized perspective to claim it's Earth curve, if they want to believe that without the effect of perspective being called Earth curve, there is no perspective, and then strap onto the end of that a straw man that wouldn't work on a flat Earth or there wouldn't be a horizon, this is irrelevant. You're not saying a flat Earth should do anything with perspective, are you? Even when it comes to things that would, in some minds on the panel, be righteously described with perspective, I still take umbrage when they're practically applied to the ground we're navigating, for example. I still go, I don't know if I like this. That's one of the examples that we have got a direct claim that we make for flat Earth that could, and some do, use that word, perspective. I don't, and give my reasons why I wouldn't. But you're here justifying why the Earth curve failure that utilized perspective in its shenanigans then needs to be explained by flat earthers because our opponents flip the burden after their claim fails.
all right, but I was just looking at it from the use the word perspective they're looking at, right? Their way they're seeing it, and he said something else I was going to just touch on. Remember
Okay,
how a long
so
time
we'll
ago
just
you
chalk
said
that up to
they
fine. Well, as we're moving on, we'll just make a conclusion that you've got too much empathy, and then move on. Go ahead.
I'm not even saying that. I just want to understand what they understand. That's it.
I
That's
just
all I'm saying.
reiterate my point. So that would be too much empathy. You just want to feel like they feel and see how they see. That's having too much empathy in this respect.
Well, well, for me, the purpose and benefit of learning like the arguments and stuff like that is how to better reach people. Not necessarily them, but maybe somebody else, right? If it's not them, that information could still be good to helping somebody else see it, right? It could be like a loved family member, right? So at the end of the day, it's all win-win, understanding how they think and how they see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm doing a QE in respect to, regardless of how much you justify this, it is just a flipping of the burden after a failure in a positive claim that they make. So, as much as you're going to catch times when I'm explaining perspective to people, and I'll give my justifications for why it was necessary in that moment, it doesn't alter the fact that I'm still correct. You don't need to. It's not our burden. I don't use the horizon in that respect. So why should I justify how the horizon functions as an optical dissolution point? I can do a very good job of it. I can give all sorts of comparisons that take apart how their maths asserts they've got their Earth curve claim, if they were to put it to me. But it's not my burden. It just isn't. I don't need to know how perspective works. I do, because my opponent had a claim about it. But in 2024, there are certain aspects of this argument that are fresh, that do come across my door. Then I go, I don't need to concern myself with this. Like, for example, how do you get Earth curve to work with a horizon and flat surface level for angles? Why do I need to concern myself with this? Well, I don't. That's not my problem. I don't care. Well, what is the horizon is the basic reasoning behind why you, in this instance, righteous. And I'm not trying to tear a strip off you. You know, I get it. You will end up talking about it in the advanced realms of this discussion. So I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying, as a matter of fact, when we're put in a position for whatever reason to justify as a flat earther what the horizon or perspective are, it is only because you've fallen victim to a burden of proof reversal fallacy. You don't have a claim about what the horizon does in that regard. When we do, if you want to use the horizon, if you were in that scenario, or let's put it a different way, if I was in that scenario, I would say, I don't use the horizon in that way. I can prove the Earth is flat with the horizon in the following way. It is utilized to establish a horizontal plane of reference. That's what we actually use it for, practically. In regards to your failed claim of Earth curve, I could then mock their failed claim and say, even if your claim succeeded with a horizon that's claimed to be a physical hill in the way of things, which it isn't, debunked in 2020, even if I accepted that it was doing what you say it should do, it has no practical application. What use, I say that once more, what use does Earth curve maths have? Show me any scenario whatsoever that has had a practical use, that served a useful function. It doesn't. Now let's contrast that with what I, as a flat earther, use the horizon for. Establishing a horizontal plane of reference for measuring angles that save your life if you're lost. That have expanded the territories. The area beyond that horizon used to be known as outer space. As we discovered new worlds in that area beyond that item I'm using now to establish a horizontal plane and measure angles, expand the territory, and measure Earth flat. Has that got anything to do with perspective? Why the hell would I need to know about it? I don't. That's my point. Doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean that you're not going to end up talking about it. You will. Our opponent's got a positive claim. If you're in the debate, you should know where their claim falls apart and what it's utilised to become a positive claim of a hill in the way. So yeah, you're going to need to know it if you're in the advanced debate. But as a matter of fact, in 20 years from now, while people might find a fascination in chemicals, it has no connection to this argument. And while in 20 years' time they might find an interest in why things get smaller as they move away from you or you move away from them, it has no bearing on this argument. It's only because they have a positive claim that they make that fails that we suddenly feel we are obliged to explain what bleeding perspective is. And I'm sick of it. It's a burden of proof reversal.
Only they didn't ask me what it is or how it works. I asked them,
Fair enough.
and they didn't
I
understand
said
it.
already, it's not directed at you. Don't take it like you've done something wrong. I'm just saying as a matter of
Right.
fact.
All right. But
I was talking about perspective only on one of the recent videos I did. I'm explaining to the guy who's just found out he's got a religion in a ball in a vacuum how you would come to assert that you've got a hill in the way. So that artist, who I obviously am going to instinctually assume he's got a grip when it comes to perspective, I can explain how orthographic view hijacks perspective. Now, if I just said it in those words, he might not have followed. But if I tell him, looking at the side of your own head, distance that doesn't change in size, it's got the same feet regardless if it's at 10 million miles, he's following along and nodding along, so I can take apart Earth curve for your average newbie that's never come across this subject. But as I sit here now as a flat earther, I am not obliged to discuss perspective with anybody. It's not part of my claim. That's the only bit I want to get absolutely cemented. I'm pretty sure I've done a good job of that.
Well, let me show you the point of what I was trying to bring up. Okay, one of the recent guys you talked to, okay, he's not on here anymore, but very recently you talked to him, and you guys were talking about all kinds of things, and it didn't convince him. And then later on, I found out why nothing was convincing him. The reason why nothing was convincing him is because he only thinks the horizon only can work on a globe. The horizon only exists on a globe.
Yeah,
So you
because
see, that was blocking him from receiving all the other information you guys are trying to get to him.
that is the correct rhetoric. Believe it or not, for him to be in that position is the correct position for him as a globe believer. The only reason things disappear in the distance is Earth curve if you're a globe believer. There isn't anything else in the column. It's just the hill getting in the way. So when he says it can only be the hill getting in the way, you're like, yeah, for you as a glober, that's correct. So the moment we
But he
show
didn't
that
say
man
that.
the black swan, well, it's not a hill in the way, is it? And it can only be your hill, because that's what hills do. Hills aren't anything other than a physical obstruction. Now, if Earth has that as a geometric property, the horizon can only be a hill for him. He's right to take that position as a globe believer if he understands his own rhetoric, until we show him the black swan.
All right, but he never said anything about things disappearing over the horizon. He just said the horizon itself can only exist in the globe. It cannot exist in an FE.
Yeah, because it's a hill. It only
Good.
exists as a globe hill. That is what he's essentially saying. There is no other type of horizon, only the hill for him.
It basically only needs the sky and the surface of Earth. That's all it needs.
You know how the horizon is
no,
apparent? Is
hold
the
on,
sky
one deck.
apparently
You've just
touching?
confused things. I just want to square this with. For him, because the rhetoric says it's a hill, then it is a fait accompli. Earth is, for him, a sphere. Therefore, the rhetorical nature of it being claimed to be a hill is the only reason we have a horizon. It is all it can be for him. Ergo,
It gets
when he
worse than
makes
that.
the statement, I'm nearly done. When he makes the statement, horizons only exist on a globe, it's because that is a fundamental aspect of a globe. The very essence of the black swan. I've tried to say it 3 times. I'm going to get to the end of it this time. Right? That's how the black swan undermines the base principle of it being a hill in the way. Now, if you're a globe believer, you must be like him. Now, we don't deal with globe believers. We deal with anti-flat earthers who are happy to relinquish the hill they're supposed to be claiming is proven by the maths and say it's refracted, essentially undermining their own argument. For that guy, when he has a base understanding that the horizon is and can only be a consequence of me being on a sphere, because that's what it is to him and nothing else, when you undermine its physical nature as a hill, aka the black swan, there's no other conclusion that man can draw. It's not a hill. It's not a consequence of my globe belief, which is what it now is when you appreciate the consequences of the black swan. He appreciates the consequences of a globe. That is what his horizon is made of, globe edge. And he's right to be that way. That's the correct belief.
All right. Can I get something in quick?
Yes.
Right. No, these guys don't think the sky should ever appear to touch the ground on an FE. Remember what Bill Nye said? You should be able to see across the ocean into China or whatever like that. In other words, there's no converging happening at the horizon. There's no horizon happening. There's no sky touching the ground. That's what they think. All right, are we starting the show? Yeah, it's like their understanding is like much, much, much lower than
We're just simping for
we're
now.
assuming, guys. Oh, you guys still here? Nathan's still pushing buttons. But yeah, that's what it is. These guys think no horizon should exist. That's why guys like Bill Nye said what he said. We should be able to see all the way to China or whatever he said in that video. It's because to them, the sky would never appear to touch the ground.
He's going against the definition of horizon, isn't he?
Yeah, but the only reason they think a horizon even exists is because it's a globe. It's because the sky bends around the globe, and that's why it appears the sky is coming down.
Let's go. Let's go.
Morning.
Hey,
Good morning.
hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's
Hello.
good to be here. We do actually have a video of my own that we're going to be covering today. So, by popular demand, we're going to be looking at one of the videos that's been discussed at reasonable length in a couple of the pre-shows and has garnered huge numbers of comments, lots of positive response. We will do a few housekeeping questions before we get to it. But not only that, we haven't got anything else to cover. So doing a plug for the recent material that I've been producing is going to be what we're doing today, unless the discussion takes us somewhere else. So we'll see how it goes after we do a couple of housekeeping questions. But in the meantime, any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Negative. Negative. Negative.
Nope, gas fills space unless it's contained.
When it gets covered, it's one of those things that initially you don't know that telling somebody that gas fills space will automatically undermine their entire paradigm. It doesn't necessarily have the penny drop moment instantly. You might have to labour it a couple of times. Don't get me wrong, there's obviously going to be instances where you explain in context that the gas that we're breathing would fill the available volume of a sky vacuum if outer space was real, therefore outer space isn't real. Now, it could be, or this would be my general expectation, that they might appreciate that, oh, right, yeah, well, okay, so gas would go into the sky vacuum then. But does that mean that they automatically appreciate that that means all of it? As in, we wouldn't have any left to breathe if the sky was a vacuum? You just don't know. But at some stage, with enough reiteration of that point to somebody who's unaware of their religious belief in a sky vacuum and a ball flying around in it, they'll eventually have that penny drop moment where, that place where the rockets are claimed to be flying through isn't real. And I'm not going there. I just see it on TV. I believe the area of volume called a vacuum, otherwise known as outer space, isn't real because it was just a belief.
Noticed with a couple of the ones you've been doing, Nathan, you know, the normies on the TV thing you're doing, OME, whatever it's called. They're not mentioning gravity much, are they? I've noticed when you talk about the gas pressure, but they seem to think in the mind that they mention the stratosphere and the layers of gas, and somehow it's doing something the higher it gets, and it's combining, and it's got more. I don't know. One of the guys was trying to explain it, and he had something in his mind that it was the way he was behaving high up was that was the containment. The gas was the containment itself of the gas.
Yes.
You know, it's yeah. Can't remember exactly what he said, but they don't mention gravity much though.
Well, they do. They're split between three different ideas when it comes to gas. One is that it's sphere-shaped. The other is that it's a homogeneous, layered system. And the third is that we've got a gravitational force pulling gas, go down, go boom, boom, go splash, splash. Now, I can only easily, concisely summarise them because it is pretty much evenly split. That is to say, there's no rhyme or reason to what people will fish for when you tell them gas fills space, which it does, it's a natural law. They'll fish for whatever it is that comes to mind first. So in the case of one particular person I spoke to, a very pretty blonde girl who was drunk, she said, well, gravity holds the gas down. And then I explained to her, how does a vape behave? Does it go down and form puddles? You know, how does gas get produced? Is it produced in the sky? Whatever it was, I went with her on what she suggested would be the overcome for the problem of gas dispersion, second law of thermodynamics, entropy, gas filling a sky vacuum if we had one. But other people have just automatically assumed, linguistically, that air would be in a sphere shape, because they just say it, atmosphere. And it's only when you stop them and point out that, well, no, in your linguistic use of this concept, your inference is that the air we're breathing arbitrarily forms a sphere shape. Alternatively, that we've got heavier gases down below and lighter gases that form barriers higher up. You know, like all of this is what's been taught to you in your middle to high school education. Therefore, to suggest or repeat that we've got layers, when that's precisely what they'll show you in the textbook wrapped around a ball, you can't not expect them to fish for one of those three things: layers, sphere-shaped air, or gravity. And they do.
Meanwhile, the definition of gas pressure is that is the force that the gas particles exert on the walls of its container. Atmosphere doesn't have container.
Yeah, atmosphere is oxymoronic. Air, unbonded gas moving in high velocities in all directions. Sphere, a shape. These two things aren't conducive with one another.
Exactly, because gases don't have an inherent shape.
No, they just fill whatever volume they've got, and whatever shape that volume may be, i.e. the shape of the container, is the shape of the overall gas, but the gas itself isn't forming that shape, it's just colliding with the walls of the container. Each individual particle has no bearing on another particle on the other side of that shape that the two, separate that they are, happen to be contained within. The shape is irrelevant to a gas.
Indeed. Meanwhile, there's plenty of space available for the gas to expand, and according with the globe model, is not expanding to, so violating the second law.
Yeah, which just means that it's
You
just not
need a
true.
sphere.
It's just not real.
You
Go
need a
ahead, Wanda.
sphere shape. You need a. You're saying you need a sphere-shaped container to be able to use atmosphere correctly.
Yeah, there'd have to be some sort of containment for you to suggest that you've got. Well, no, because atmosphere itself is self-containing sphere-shaped air. It's just oxymoronic when you know how gas behaves. You're suggesting that, well, to have atmosphere, well, no, you've just got a sphere full of gas. If you've got a bulb with gas in it, you don't suddenly describe it differently. The gas inside the bulb is just a gas inside a bulb. You don't say, well, now it's atmospheric bromine because it's in a sphere-shaped container. You're like, well, what if I go and get a bulb that's square and put a valve on the end of that? Does it stop being described as atmosphere because it's boxosphere, atmo box? It's like it's not contingent on which bleeding box shape it's in. It's a gas.
Exactly. Without the balloon, there can be no pressure. Remember?
Yeah, conspiracy
The Earth
cats.
doesn't have that balloon.
Yeah, you've got to have a container for there to be pressure. Basically, it's just going to sod off into a sky vacuum. We'd never have developed pressure in that heliocentric world, but I find it a struggle to go into that when I'm telling off everybody else for not begging the question and working within their paradigm. In their paradigm, yes, gas would never have developed pressure, but their paradigm comes from a reification of a model. So why would I fantasize, is the only word I can use, about how the reification, that's creating something concrete out of a model, would or wouldn't develop pressure in a fantasy? It's like, this seems so stupid to me now. Does it matter how the gas pressure would work inside a mathematical model of a sphere moving around the sun? We're not any of those things. So conceptualizing how gas might contain and violate the second law of thermodynamics is silly. Why am I doing this? I don't need to exercise this level of fantasy in my life at this age. It's just not needed. There must be containment. For us to be breathing, the system that we are in is contained. Cycles that we are dependent on are only in existence because there must be containment for our world. That's it. That's what we can extract from it. What's the dome made of? I don't know what the sky is. I just know that to be breathing, the gas must be contained. If it wasn't contained, it wouldn't be here. So the space that they claim is a vacuum with men travelling through rockets is the only relinquishment that I have to abide by after finding this out. Or researching it, refinding it out after learning it initially, and then just forgetting about it because you're told you're on a ball in a space vacuum. But when you appreciate that you're not, that's it. You get on with your day. You might be the person to find out what the sky is, but you don't have to replace it. You don't have to suddenly start calling it ether. You just don't know now. You thought you knew, now you don't. Let's not be idiots and speculate and create people's false hopes in free energy. That seems cruel to me. I just don't know what the sky is. That's it. I thought I did. That was nice. Now I don't. Oh well. Speaking of things we don't know about, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
You're going to need a
I don't
flat
think
plane
there's
for
any
that.
evidence. Yeah, there's no evidence of a distance, but you can obtain elevation angles to it to get elevation angle measurements off a flat horizontal surface.
Yeah, well, that's how we've been navigating the world and expanding the known territories for the last several hundred years.
Well, if you're going to do trigonometry or any other type of measurements to the sun, it will be an elevation angle. You're going to need to treat the Earth as a horizontal plane.
That's how we're measuring it. That's how we're using it. That's how we're putting the sun into practical application and developing models like the globe with it. Yeah, it's all using flat Earth elevation angles to it. We're measuring Earth flat to create these systems that the majority of the Western world think they're actually standing on. It's amazing. 70 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Thank you very much to all the regulars who consistently smash the share button and get it out to an audience at all. Wouldn't be 70 people watching if it wasn't for my regulars. I can see you all scrolling your way by with membership badges. Thank you very much for joining. Any other housekeeping questions, or should we move on to covering this very well received video? It's only been out a day and a half. No,
Yeah, let's get into that.
it's going to be awkward. It breaks one of my rules to a certain degree, because typically I'd suggest that it's not a good idea to cover something where I'm talking in it, because it becomes a bit confusing. So ideally, I'll get some actual reactions from you guys. Does that make sense? Pretend like I'm not here. I'll play and pause, and when you can say, I've got an opinion on this particular bit, that'd be great, because then it won't just be me talking over me. Make sense?
Yep.
Okie dokie. Well, I'm gonna plug my own video. This is nice. Why not? If I don't get confused about where the video actually is. Where the hell is it? Give me a second. It's this one. Okay, so this is Aussie Finds Out It's Flat, which was released less than a day ago. It's already had well over 1,000 views. I'm going to put a link to it in the chat. I picked this particular video to cover because it's the one that got the most discussion in the pre-show. So I thought that would be appropriate, because it'll obviously get them chit-chatting about it, as it's the one that was, other than the guy with the black square, that was discussed yesterday. So that's why I picked this particular video. If I can find my live stream chat, I'll actually put the link to it. Here we go. So here's a link to the video. Aussie Finds Out It's Flat. Please leave a comment on it if you're watching in the live stream. I'll chit-chat with my panel for a little bit while you do this, but leave it a comment. You know, one of these videos is going to hopefully spark enough interest to get shared and shared and shared and potentially get lots and lots and lots of views. And it may not be this video, but one of them is going to end up driving people to this channel. I already know, just by the reaction to date. And the consistency in the reaction with the repeated videos has been maybe 20 put out so far, and they're all getting the same response. So one of them's going to go, I don't want to say viral, that's definitely not going to be the case, but might garner several thousand views and drive people to this channel. So yeah, please leave a comment on the video. If you do happen to watch these Omi videos, I'd encourage you to do the same. Just if you leave just a nice comment, 2 words, nice video, anything. It just helps the video actually get pushed to people's homepage. And I do mean that in terms of internally. It means it will actually reach my own bleeding subscribers if you leave a comment, rather than reaching the outside world in any meaningful way, which it probably won't. But at this point, it's a fight to keep your own subscribers actually intrigued with your content, because half the time they're not even getting my material presented to them. But they will be if, like I say, these sorts of videos do get a decent enough comment response. With that being said, is there anything I need to add, or is there anything anyone wants to say before we actually hit play? Shout out to Jardo. It says, I take a work call, leave Discord for 5 minutes, and now Discord is full. Jardo was chatting with us in the pre-show. He said that these videos are cringe because the participants are young, and I'm obviously old. So therefore, it's cringe watching somebody old talk to somebody young about this subject. Now, as I said in the pre-show, out of my own preference that I've arbitrarily ascribed to this particular process, I don't want to talk to people who are under 18. That is to say, I don't want to talk to children about this subject. There is no reason other than my own imposing of that rule. That is to say, I can talk to anybody I like. Now, if anybody doesn't get this, because some detractors from the Globe side have already said, look, he's talking to children. Well, number one, no. Yes, they are young. Yes, they are young adults over 18. If there was an exception and somebody was lying, although I do try and weed those out, it wouldn't matter. In the same way Mr. Beast is running a Discord server with young adults, or not even young adults, teenagers, that's perfectly acceptable unless you're doing something untoward. Now, I appreciate that YouTube offers up lots of material about PDF files being caught. That is to say that they're grooming young children. And Mr. Beast himself is currently under fire for having exactly this happen with his employees. However, regardless of whether or not I'm allowed, which I most certainly am, I don't want to talk to children in this particular arena. I want to know that they're adults. Now, in some instances, the people who are competent enough to hold a conversation may be under 18. So what? For the majority of the time, I'm only interested in somebody talking to me if they're competent enough to do it. And typically, that arbitrary age restriction of about 18 is about the right point where the person's not going to be immature and useless to me, waste of my time. You know, I only want to talk to somebody that's going to have the reaction like this guy. Yeah? Anyway, shout out to Jardo again. He says, I blame Neil for not being able to get into Discord. Right, I will say it one more time because I don't have to pipe up and encourage you all. Let's do the compare bit. You all ready? You all keen? You all excited to react?
Yeah. Let's get it on.
Beliefs without evidence. You've not gone to a sky vacuum, but you believe men are taking pictures of a ball with clouds on it, and the clouds aren't going into the vacuum? Why not?
Yeah.
Well, that's because it's not real.
I mean, when you put it that way, you're making people sound pretty stupid. I mean,
don't feel stupid. Don't feel
if you
stupid.
turn out...
You're not. No.
All right, well...
You were taught this in school as being true. You were taught it in physics, which is the physical and natural world. So for you to accept that it's physics, because they told you it was, doesn't make you stupid. Don't ever assume that that makes you stupid. It means there's men who've lied to you. Doesn't mean you're stupid. Not at all. For my amusement, no offense to you, 10 minutes ago, you were like, I'm not religious. 5 minutes later, there is curve for bullets. That's being a bit of a fundy, we've got to admit.
Yeah, but why would we need round maps?
What, they're not, they're all flat. All maps are flat.
Yeah. So yeah, but like I'm trying to say is that the Earth can't be flat because like that's just not how it works.
This is the reaction I'm fishing for. I love it. Tell me more.
Yeah, but like
well, zero reaction so far.
Straight away, sort of, you know, and this is what we face with all the time. Like, why would they lie? You know, these youngsters and that they see the pictures from NASA of the blue marble from the ISS and from space, and that's what, like you say, Nathan, that's what they've been taught from an early age. That's what they've seen, and that's what they believe. It's the religion that they believe in. Why would anybody lie about this?
It doesn't compute. It doesn't compute. It can't be. They cannot accept it. Yeah, it's measured flat, but it's too big, eh?
Hello.
I
Good,
can
you?
accept it.
Right. Go ahead.
That feeling you're saying doing, don't apologize or don't feel stupid, but the more I grow in flat Earth, you have that feeling of stupid. How could I have not thought this through earlier on? You just believe what you're told. You feel it's not so much stupid, I guess, deceived. You because of the deception, or the wool that's been pulled over your eyes, you feel stupid.
I think you're correct. This is
Exactly.
what we said. This is what we said earlier about, it's so simple to understand an elevation angle, and once it's explained about you using sea level, an elevation requires a horizontal baseline. Yeah. And when you go through that, it's just such a simple method to explain and draw and show how it's being used. But because they're programmed to believe that they live on a globe, well, this can't be happening. It can't be true because I live on a globe. So they can't snap out of it, and that's when anti-flat earthers come in and start changing definitions of words, which we discussed in the pre-show. They have to start saying level isn't level. This is happening. We're using level and horizontal, but it's still curved, and this is the mentality that they drop to.
Yeah, sea level is a measurement of how flat the Earth is.
Is it Daz, the guy that was talking a minute ago?
Yeah.
Hopefully at the end, towards the end of this video, that made it to the intro, the hook about not feeling stupid, but that gets covered again. Hopefully you'll reiterate your point. I hoped that would get focused on. Very good. How old are you? You over 18?
Yeah.
Good. Very pro setup there by the looks of
I
things.
mean, I just give them my friends. Sometimes I upload from here to there on YouTube, but that's about it. I don't upload this stuff just because there's so many weirdos on here that like flash and just all the editing, the blur out and stuff. I mean, I've been on here, 20 minutes? I think I've seen like 17 penises already, man. It's uncanny.
Well, I'm fortunate to say I haven't seen any yet.
Like smallish, pretty small YouTubers. One of my friends has over like 4,000 subs or something, so we try and record with him as much as we can. It was just so many like weirdos. It was crazy.
I don't know. That's quite good for me. Telling weirdos that they've got a religion they were unaware of is what I do on this particular
Telling
platform.
weirdos that they've got a religion they're unaware of.
Yeah, you included, unfortunately.
I'm included. How am I included? I'm not a weirdo.
I didn't say you're a weirdo. I wouldn't be so rude. No, you were educated in the UK, right?
Yeah.
Well, you were raised with the religion of heliocentrism. You just weren't told it was a religion.
What's helios? I don't know what that is.
In your science class, you'd have been taught that you're on a ball flying around the sun, right?
Yeah.
That's your religion. You just didn't know it till 10 seconds ago.
A lot of them, sorry, Nathan. A lot of them are unfamiliar with the word heliocentric, aren't they? I've noticed they have to start googling what it is and searching what heliocentric means. Like it's they've never heard that term, which I'm not sure if it is used in schools. Heliocentric. I don't think I ever was faced with that word in school. But yeah, I've noticed that as well. They're not familiar with that term.
Our religion?
Yeah, heliocentrism. It's called. Came from the Roman Catholic Church.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
No worries. You want to know something else?
Sure.
Space is fake. There is no outer space. Sky vacuum is a load of old nonsense that are lied to you about.
I've definitely read a fair few things that say space is fake, but I've read a fair few things to say that disprove those things. I mean,
you know why?
Why's that?
You're aware that you're breathing gas.
Yeah.
Right, gas, by its nature, expands to fill whatever volume you've got to fill, right?
Yeah.
So if the sky was a vacuum, what do you think would happen to all the gas you're breathing?
Sky isn't a vacuum. The sky is the ozone layer. Sky is also a layer of boundaries of particles that are heavier than oxygen, which creates a boundary not allowing them to get out. And they're also strong enough combined when they're entwined, like their their structure, to prevent the vacuum from getting in and prevent the oxygen from getting out.
It's a violation of a law of nature known as entropy. So gas will always expand into any volume it's got available to it.
I think he is trying to explain a container there, isn't he, really? He's giving an excuse for a container. Sounds like it, because the gas is forming in such a way that it's containing and creating a barrier. So he's understanding a barrier is required. He's just not understanding it, but he's explaining it incorrectly, the model incorrectly.
Yeah, he definitely gave like an excuse for some sort of barrier.
Yeah, he agreed that the sky wasn't a vacuum almost immediately. He said, no, it's ozone.
It's a law of nature.
Yeah, but then if the gas is also strong enough, atomically, I guess you could say, well, not atomically, but you know what I mean. If the gas is strong enough, it can also prevent getting out.
No. So
that's what they taught us in science. Yeah, but space can't be.
Was that someone commenting?
I was just picking up on his, he's commenting on certain gas particles being strong, stronger than other gas particles. Like the gas particles have got strength.
Fake.
Why not?
Because, so you're saying we're in a simulation?
No, I didn't say that. So where they say men go to fly around in spacesuits, they put telescopes, they go to the moon.
So I could
that's fake.
Theoretically drive a car in space.
There is no space. It's like Narnia. There's no place that's called outer space that's a vacuum. They claim
but
the sky's a vacuum.
But if space doesn't exist, how can our solar system exist?
It doesn't. That's part of the religion you're in. It's called Copernican model. A guy called Copernicus invented it. What's your YouTube channel name? Shout yourself out.
My YouTube channel name?
You're about to go in front of 26,000 people, so you might as well shout yourself out.
26,000 people?
Wow, 26,000 subscribers. Let's just have a quick look and see how many are actually watching this show right now. 91 people watching. Please share the show. Thank you very much to all of you who smashed the share button already.
Okay, it's actual one. Do you want me to type it?
ACTUAL space ONE. Is that the name? Go and give this guy some love. I'm sure he'll probably actually appear if you type in his channel name. You'll probably actually find him. But yeah, drop him a sub. Be nice if he actually grew his channel off the back of this shout out that he's giving himself. With the YouTube channel that you've got. Okay, you'll have shouted out your own channel at the very least.
Oh, thank you very much.
Do you want to know the channel name to look yourself up?
Yeah, go for it.
It's Nathan Oakley 1980.
Nathan Oakley 1980.
Yeah, tell people like yourself about the religion they didn't know they have, and explain entropy and second law of thermodynamics to them so that they figure out that space is fake.
Nathan, it is not. I'm just saying. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
It is nice to get. It is nice to hear honest, normal response from I'll say average Joe, just a normal person who's not in this arena, here to fight and cause problems and anti-flat earthers. He's a genuine guy, and this is how we all were, until we come to the realization that it is a religious belief, and we've been taught these things, and it's just been instilled in our mind. And it's nice for us to hear his honest responses, and you can hear his brain ticking a little bit as you're telling him things, which is really nice to see, I think.
If you type my full name
I found your channel. Your channel was at the top.
So do you want to know how they did it? Do you want to know how they gave you a religion? You ever heard of Polaris? A star called Polaris? North Star.
Rings a bell, yeah.
Okay. Well, on the globe that you were taught in school, you've got lines around it called latitude. Is that vaguely familiar?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, those lines are measurements of angles to the star called Polaris. So if you imagine you're standing below Polaris, so it's directly above you, yeah?
Yeah.
If that's Polaris above you, as you move away from Polaris, it will get lower and lower and lower in the sky. Yeah?
Yeah.
Back away from it. It's 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles. Well, that's latitude. That measurement is latitude. Well, the way it's measured is with elevation angles off the flat surface to the star.
Yeah.
It's an angle. So in order to get latitude, to create the globe that the church gave you to believe in as a religion, they first measure the angles to the stars off a flat surface. That's how you create the model of the globe.
So you believe in a flat Earth?
No, that's how it's measured.
Oh, right.
No belief needed. That's just how it's measured. So, for example, your globe comes to fruition. It's made using measurements of a flat plane of reference. That's how you make a globe. As weird as that sounds.
I
Hey,
mean,
Nathan. It sounds like it's took him a little while. Sorry, Nate. He's just triggered that twigged that you're a flat earther. Well, I'll use the term flat earther. It's took him a while, hasn't it? But something, the penny's just dropped that he's going to look at you as a flat earther now, I think.
No, the key is
Take a
that
bit of time for the red pill to kick
Nathan
in.
never says that.
I didn't need to. He looked at my channel. I caught the moment when he's clocked what's on my channel, and right at the top of the channel there's a banner that says Flat Earth Debate. And he's looked at it and gone, huh? And his eyes have widened. I caught that moment.
No, what I'm saying is, whenever they say you believe, you always come back with no. That's how it's measured. That is key.
That's what?
Key.
Key?
Key. Key point.
I think what Neil's saying is rather than say, yes, I'm a flat earther, you just say, well, no, it's measured that way, is what I think Neil's pointing out, which is, yeah, it's a good point.
yeah, but then at the same time, we could, but I don't think they've put in enough effort to measure it as a globe. I reckon we could, but I don't think they've put in enough effort.
No, you can't. There's no curvature to the surface. So the way you create the model of the globe...
No, there is curvature. Have you not seen the video of those flat earthers that put the pit? They try.
Yeah.
He's fighting a bit now, isn't he, for the curve? I think.
You see me smiling.
He must be talking about the curve of latitude, a circle of equal elevation around Polaris. That's the only curve. It's a curve of a circle of equal altitude.
No, but what Wandek's saying is, right, he's gone from, I'm cool, I don't have any religious beliefs, I'm easy. What do you mean I've got a religious belief that I'm unaware of? You can't suggest that. Well, that was 5 minutes ago. Obviously, it's been edited down. 5 minutes later, he's like, hang on a second. I'm going to tell you what I believe is true. You're like, ah. So suddenly, for me, I start smiling because I'm like, this is the reaction I'm looking for, isn't it? 5 minutes ago, I've not got any beliefs. Why would I behave like a religious fundamentalist zealot and start chanting at you that there is Earth curve? Why would I do that? I'm not religious. Until you tell them what their religious belief is, and they realise that you don't believe as they do, then they start chanting their religious belief at you. I smile and go, tell me more about your religion. Convince me of your religion. You know what I mean? So this is ideal.
Try to do the pinhole effect, where they put them a certain distance apart, and then they tried to look through them, and it wasn't in line because the Earth's not flat.
But the maps that you use are created with systems that are based on measuring Earth as a plane of reference. For things like latitude, those are practically applied systems.
A map is on a piece of paper. We're not going to carry around a globe to know where we are.
No, we measure angles to the stars. Anyone trying to get a word in?
Hey, Nathan, just real quick. I like the way you didn't focus on how that whole thing with the Jaren, it was bogus. He has the emails to the producers, how they kind of threw him under the bus, edited it all wrong. I like how you didn't focus on that and you just went straight back to but it's measured this way, because when you try to do that to bring them up to with the correct information, that usually just goes in one ear and out the other anyways. So you didn't waste your time. So I actually like that you did it that way.
It is a waste of time. What we've been trying to bark at people like Jaren for the last 4 years is what is science? What's this guy referring to, for the audience's benefit, is a quasi-experiment done by Jaren. Okay? Well, I'm being praised, thank you very much, Apocryphon, for not taking the bait, basically. Now, what have I done in lieu of taking the bait is take it back to how Earth is practically being utilised as a plane of reference for things like navigation. The point being, you've got two options. I don't know if this was done in the live show or in the pre-show, but I got quite uppity with Righteous Force because he's telling me about how he's explaining perspective to somebody. And on one hand, I'm saying that's perfectly understandable because in the debate, they've got a positive claim of Earth curve and they've hijacked perspective to make it. Therefore, as an advanced debater in the subject, you're going to be expected to understand how that works to overcome their positive claim of Earth curve. However, beyond their positive claim of Earth curve, there's no positive assertion for me to have to defend as a flat earther. Ergo, it's a burden of proof reversal fallacy. Well, the same is true in this scenario with this particular gentleman. There's a explanation that he's going to have come his way about how Earth curve is being created with the flat Earth measurements. But obviously, he, in his religious tendencies that he didn't know he had, feels compelled to defend them. Well, back to this will come later in the video. There's a reassurance that this guy gets from me at the end of the video that it's not unreasonable to behave that way. If you're told something is true and you've just spent the last 10 minutes explaining why it would be true, yeah, like previous examples that have been demonstrated to be wrong with phlogiston and flames, if you've just spent 10 minutes explaining to somebody how that's all true and they demonstrably prove you wrong, then in that moment you are going to feel stupid. But my reassurance is to this guy, you shouldn't. You've been told something that's incorrect. And you were absolutely assured that you were taught it in a school that it was correct. So it's not down to you to feel stupid when someone's giving you misinformation. That's not his fault, is it? If you're told your entire life that it is purely the blowholes of whales that create all of the gases we breathe, and you're told that from the day you're born, and then you come across somebody who tells you that's not true and explains why it can't be true, in that moment you're going to feel stupid. But for that guy that's talking about airs produced from blowholes, you can understandably realise why that would be a stupid thing to assert. In this instance, with a one world religious belief that's been taught to every school kid ever in the Western world, how can I ascribe stupidity to the guy who's just parroting that which he was told was true? Now, when he's been told it's true and it isn't, it's just a bit of a fine line to toe when you start calling it a lie, as I did with this guy. But I think I carefully phrased it enough to say you've been lied to. The information you've been given isn't correct. That doesn't make you stupid. Yeah? If someone tells you there's rockets going up and they show you videos of rockets going up, why wouldn't you believe it as a normal guy? Until someone like me comes along and says, well, because the place that they're sending the rockets to isn't real, they're just lying to you with the images they say come from the sky vacuum. Here's why it isn't true the gas would fill the space. They can't be filming clouds next to a sky vacuum. You're going to go, oh, well, I'm stupid, aren't I? Why didn't I see this sooner? Oh, well, you weren't looking for it. It was a fait accompli until this moment. You knew it was true and you didn't need to question it. So there's no need for anybody to feel stupid after the fact, as far as I'm concerned. It bugs me. The first encounter I had was QE, when he was telling me that he felt stupid after somebody pointed out that the second law of thermodynamics would leave you with no air to breathe if the sky was a vacuum. Very argument we're discussing here today. And when he told me, I'm like, I felt quite put out by that. I'm like, why would you feel stupid? You know, you had no reason to question it. It's not an area that you were researching or looking into. Why, when someone just drops the bombshell on you, should you feel stupid? He's probably going to hate me talking about this with him as an example. I'm sorry, QE. But you're just the first example that came to mind. And QE's not stupid. Far from it. So to be made, someone like QE, to be made to feel stupid, in that moment when he was saying it to me, QE that is, it suddenly dawned on me, right? You've got to make the lie absolutely enormous. You've got to constantly parrot it. You've got to indoctrinate it from birth. But then at the point that you realise it's not true, you should feel stupid about it. No, it's totally unreasonable. I've forgotten the point. I've forgotten why I was on this long ramble now. There was probably a point that we were talking to. Was it you, Daz, or was it One Deck? I've forgotten what the actual point I was making was now.
I don't. It wasn't me, but I think it was that he was just saying he feels stupid. But like going further on with say us lot, for example, not so much as you get into the subject. We've spoke about this on the other shows. Like I've mentioned it myself. Now you can break down Eratosthenes' example of measuring Earth curve and realize even the examples they give you on the internet, they're letting you know it's a presupposition. They're telling you it's an angle measurement, but 4 years ago, you're thinking that is sort of, when the globe has put that to you, that is some sort of globe proof. Now we can break it down and say it's got nothing to do with a globe measurement. Yeah. And you think, how did I miss that? How did I not know that then?
Yeah.
We do now.
Yeah, the same thing applies, but you go back another 2 years when you're using words like atmosphere without even giving them a second thought. You don't know what you don't know. But, having the humility to stand back and go, there's going to be things I'm going to get wrong. The perfect example of that was the guy that came on the other day, the Angels guy, right? He's in a position where he's prepared to put his neck out. He's prepared to, say, look, I'm not afraid to make claims. He sounded really nervous, actually. And I don't blame him, right? We're a proper snake pit, aren't we? Let's be honest. So you're going to be nervous. But, he put his claims on the table, let them be critiqued, was open to having them critiqued, and just took the information and presumably expanded his repertoire of argumentation moving forward. You think, well, that's perfect, right? That's all you can expect. But at the end of that process, would it be in any way reasonable for us to say to that specific guy, Angels guy, you dumbo, why didn't you spot this sooner, dum-dum? Would that be reasonable? No, obviously not. You don't know what you don't know. And, it's having the humility to say, yeah, I might be wrong, but let's just state what I think is correct to see how wrong I might be. But if you're married to your religion, regardless of whether you've got a good understanding of it or not, you'll reach for something that tries to overcome the cognitive pain of being wrong. And it is just pride. That's all this is. From this gentleman here, this pride. Doesn't want to be wrong. Doesn't make him stupid, though. That's the overarching point I want to get across. Same for anybody in the audience.
That's why this.
Go on.
I think that's why this OBE, how you're doing this, Nathan, is good, because you're faced with a normal person basically, and you're able to get that point across more clearly and precisely and slowly, and go through it without being spoken over and the scenes you get with the anti-flat earthers, and you can't talk and it ends up in a fight and you can't hear what anybody's saying. This is you're able to explain it to this gentleman and put it down in layman's terms for him to understand. Obviously, he's reacting because he's got a globe belief, religious globe belief that he didn't realize he had. But that's just natural.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we have flat maps, so that they work with the angles that you measure.
Yeah, but why would we need round maps?
What, they're not. They're all flat. All maps are flat.
Yeah. So yeah, but like I'm trying to say is that
This is your brain when you're struggling to focus.
Cognitive dissonance kicking in.
You mean spherical, not round. A pizza's round, for fuck's sakes. Sorry.
No swearing. Yes, I know what you're trying to say. I took what he meant when he said round to mean spherical. I just took the inference, and I was correct. So yeah, but you are right. Please don't swear.
Can't be flat because like that's just not how it works.
This is the reaction I'm fishing for. I love it. Tell me more.
Yeah, but like if the Earth is flat, how can I? So like you're saying I could go from Australia. That means I'd have to go underneath and around America. I've made that journey in a plane. I can't. You can go from Australia to America. So you're trying to say that I can go from here to here immediately, but I'm going this way. So how does that work?
So both the systems that you've described, yeah. Go ahead.
He's got like the Gleason map in his mind just already, or something like that. He just has a presupposed map in his mind saying, "Oh, can I go here?" You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, but what he actually showed on screen, I don't know if you can see because you're in Discord, he described the celestial sphere. So I can't remember if this has made the edit or just isn't, but I think either previous to this or after this, I'm explaining how it works with an antipodal flat plane, which is North Pole and South Pole centric, to create the celestial sphere. But I took me taking the inference from how he described it when he's describing the journey, because the way he drew it out on camera was to show moving underneath onto a different flat plane. So as he showed that hand movement, I took that to mean, okay, you understand how the celestial sphere's mapped out with two antipodal flat planes, which is how it's worked, and then projected out into a spherical surface that you're not standing on anymore. But that was how I heard him describe it when he described his journey. He's like, can you go from here? And then underneath was what he kind of drew with his finger. I mean, I could be wrong. But you're right. He's got a model in his mind. Yes.
His journey was a level flight, though.
Yep. Both use the same version of elevation angles to stars. So the systems that we use for maps for both north and south are both based on angle measurements to the stars off a flat plane. Once you've got those angle measurements, you can take both north and south systems and project them both flat, one on top of the other, or the correct term's antipodal. And that creates a model that the church used called the celestial sphere. So it's two flat Earths, the North Pole centric system, that's flat circles made with angles to Polaris, and underneath, again flat, the South Pole centric system. So they're two separate systems, but that combined system makes something called the celestial sphere. Now with that, you can project out a sphere inside a sphere. So you've got the sphere of the heavens as projected in that system on two flat planes, north and south. And then around that, you can have the globe. I shouldn't have gone through that with him. That was too much. So yes, the audience benefits. It was too much.
Yeah, I was thinking that if he can grasp that, then he probably didn't grasp any of that, really, did he? But I think when he's thinking about his flight, he's basically got a globe in his mind, hasn't he? When he's flying from A to B, he's thinking he's already presupposing a globe, and that he's flying around a ball. That's what he's thinking when he explained America to Australia or whatever he mentioned.
Right. In my mind, to get him to the globe with accuracy about how the maps and models are produced with latitude north and south pole centric, projected out into a celestial sphere, then requires that this extra step that really I shouldn't have gone through with him, it's too complex, of projecting out with have assigned the globe to project those angles through to then infer that you've got that globe to stand on. Well, I'm not going to get there. Number one, it took too many seconds before he's compelled to interject. Fair enough, right? But I should have stopped after telling him how the projection of the celestial sphere came to pass. There was a pause, and I should have just stopped. Whereas instead I left half a beat and then just carried on about how the globe started to be produced, and he interrupted. I should have just gauged it better. I'll get better with time. Inside.
Okay, but
so you project angles through the globe.
But like, okay, I don't know about. I'm not really highly educated on religion and stuff.
That's okay.
But I'm more educated on shooting and stuff because I've done it quite a lot, right? So how would the Earth's curvature affects your bullet? And in order for there to be a curvature, it has to be. There is though.
Okay, where?
There has been no sniper that there's any Coriolis effect that takes effect on a bullet on a rotating Earth.
Yeah, so he's getting confused because you are accounting for drop over distance with a bullet. So when it's been explained to him, he's superimposed his ideas about Earth curve onto the adjustment for drop over distance when doing long range shooting. Yeah? Can you understand his confusion? You're saying
he's
the correct
thinking of Coriolis, of course.
Yeah, the guy from Discord's correct. If he had his globe rhetoric in line and was an anti-flat earther with a decent amount of understanding of Coriolis and Globiolus and how to overcome the fact we don't see the effect, he would potentially have ascribed the only effect you can use sniper fire with a globe earth claim, and that's Coriolis. He hasn't. He just knows that he does adjust for the drop over a long distance, and that's what he's been taught. But drop over distance is the bullet in a curved trajectory towards the ground as it is fired over a long distance. That's not Earth curve, as I'll tell him later, but in his mind, he's fishing for anything that he can ascribe with a mathematical value that is drop over distance. Yeah, you do have a bullet drop over distance, but it's got sod all to do with Earth curve, has it? Say there is.
Also has nothing to do with Coriolis.
Again, he's not claiming that, but yeah.
A bullet gets affected by Earth's curvature. If I'm shooting over a certain distance away with a high-powered rifle, the Earth curvature, right, affects the downfall and the carry of my bullet.
Would it not just be that it's more dense than the area it's in?
No.
Okay.
The curvature, it's difficult to explain. So obviously,
yeah, what you're describing is ballistics. But ballistics is described with respect to a flat plane also. You're talking about angles derived from flat planes when you describe ballistic trajectory. They're also described off a flat Earth. Maybe look it up.
I'd have to look into it more, but I've always been taught.
You don't need to. I'll just tell you. Ballistics is dealing with angles, isn't it?
But when I've been practicing shooting and I've researched shooting, it's always said to equate for Earth's curvature. And when I equate for Earth's curvature, I've always hit my target.
So what did you equate for precisely?
I don't know how to explain it too well. You know, my dad was a marksman for a bit, but he helps me with the math, and he just tells me, you know, the stuff at the top. I don't know what to call it. I just know how to shoot. And
what you're accounting for is the bullet dropping with distance.
Yeah, I think, I'm pretty sure.
That's not Earth curve.
Yeah, but you I don't know how to explain it. Well, you need to find someone that's good at explaining stuff, because I really don't know how to explain stuff.
You don't need to.
Well,
but you're trying to defend a religion you found out 5 minutes ago you're part of, and cognitively you're bracing against that and telling me that your religion's true still. It isn't.
I'm not religious, man.
You are. You're chanting at me that it's a ball. You're telling me it must have curvature, aren't you? That's being a zealot. No offense, but that's what zealotry is.
Believing that the Earth is a sphere is not a religion.
That's what beliefs are. Religions, beliefs without evidence. You
can have a belief about being religious.
You can't. That's what religion is. Belief without evidence. The evidence is that it's measured flat. That's how the ball gets created mathematically.
The evidence is pictures from outer space.
Sky vacuum where the gas would fill.
Yeah.
You've been there, right?
No.
It's because you can't get there. There's no such place. Gas would fill it. It's not real. They lied to you.
Wow, what a slap on the face.
By me, or?
No, he just took a slap. He didn't even realize it.
I don't think they did.
You believe them?
I don't necessarily believe them, but I choose to believe what's more probable than what's not.
That's what religions are based on, though, isn't it? That's belief.
Probability has nothing to do with it. You're a fucking
my producers
numpty.
are piping up. Shh. That's what religion. That's QE in the background, compelled. It's nothing to do with probability. Risking him cutting us off. At that point, when QE interjected, I actually opened the line because I told them in advance, look, I'm just going to close the line to Discord or G+ or whatever it was I was using. But I thought at some point in this discussion, I've decided to open the line just to hear QE's killer commentary, and that's what we got. Shout out to QE. Religions are beliefs without evidence. You've not gone to a sky vacuum, but you believe men are taking pictures of a ball with clouds on it, and the clouds aren't going into the vacuum. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, that's because it's not real.
I mean, when you put it that way, you're making people sound pretty stupid. I mean, you can't. I mean, you can, because it's what you're doing. And
don't feel stupid. Don't feel stupid. You're not. No.
All right. Well, you turn out to be right.
You were taught this in school as being true.
He's feeling the pain of that slap. He's feeling the pain of that slap. That's why he's feeling stupid.
Say that one more time, George.
He started to feel the pain of that slap from before. Yeah, when you kill it with the outer space being fake, it took him time to digest that. He's just reacting now.
Yeah, he had an argument in response to it, didn't he? He said it was ozone or something. containing, I guess. Again, it's another lie that we were told in school. Ozone layer? What are you talking about? Layers. They're not forming layers.
Yeah, with a hole in it.
Yeah. So in his mind, there's a container involved, and it's the ozone container. Like, no. It's got to be a solid
Like you say, though,
boundary.
Nathan.
Go on.
Sorry, Nathan. Like you say, this is what you'd expect. You know, the guy believes he lives on a ball because that's what he's been taught. He's not just going to say, from never meeting you before and explaining all this, that, well, you must be correct. He's got things in his mind that he's been taught, and he's doing his best to pull things out of his mind to explain why he believes them. But he's gone. He's made some adjustment for his bullet. He's been told it's Earth curvature. You know, another thing. So he's got this belief, and it's a normal reaction to try and protect that belief. That's what he's doing.
The other thing this is useful for, in my opinion, is the reaction we're getting from, or I'm getting from, normal people. Very, very different to the reaction we get from anti-flat earthers, but identical to the reaction you get from people who are told they're in a cult. So if you happen to have a friend who, for instance, is a Scientologist, send them one of these videos so they can see the reaction being identical to somebody that they might love, that they've tried to convince. You're in a cult. And the reaction they will get is identical to normal person's reaction to finding out same thing. They're finding out they're in a cult, that they've got a religious belief. So I think I'm starting to slowly realise why these videos are as powerful, as potent as they are.
Yeah,
Don't feel stupid. Go on. Or was that the video? Stupid. Don't feel stupid. You're not. No.
All right, well, if you turn out to be right.
You were taught this in school as being true. You were taught it in physics, which is the physical and natural world. So for you to accept that it's physics, because they told you it was, doesn't make you stupid. Don't ever assume that that makes you stupid. It means there's men who've lied to you. Doesn't mean you're stupid. Not at all.
What you're saying makes sense, but it's just like, it's so far-fetched. It's just like...
Yeah, but for my amusement, no offence to you, 10 minutes ago, you were like, I'm not religious. 5 minutes later, there is curve for bullets. That's being a bit of a fundy, we've got to admit.
Yeah.
But you're entitled to your religion. I mean, you can believe you're on a ball all you like. That's up to you. You keep your religion if you want it. You're entitled to it.
Okay.
He can't believe the scope of the lie. It's too big for him right now.
You've collared another point why these are well-received videos. It's capturing that moment, isn't it? That, holy Jesus, I cannot quite believe my ears. This is beyond comprehension at this moment. That's what's being captured in these videos, isn't it? And it reminds people of that moment for them. I've had plenty of commenters who say it. I remember when I had this information and I defended it with complete nonsense, garbage, gibberish that I didn't really understand. I remember that moment. And you're like, yeah, there's obviously a lot of people who remember this moment. Now, unfortunately for the poor suckers who end up on my videos, right, that moment's being published. But it is that moment. Now, I can remember that moment. I remember Math Powerland saying it on the iPad. And me going and waking up my wife at 3 a.m. and go, it's flat, I can't believe it. Right? I remember it. But a lot of people don't. They're like, oh, no, I came across it and I denied it. And you're like, yeah, but what was the moment like when you first had to comprehend it for the first time and denied it? Because I bet most people block it out of their memory if they deny it. Me, I didn't. I embraced it, so I can remember it. But I bet most people don't. So capturing it there's something magical about it, right?
I was the same though, Nathan. I was I never fought against it when it was put forth to me that people, I'll use the term, believed the Earth was flat. Something just registered within me immediately. At that point, I didn't actually know the Earth was flat. It was a belief. but it was instant. I'd never even been into the subject, but it came across me, and I instantly knew, yes, it is flat.
Yes, but as I say, for a lot of people, they won't remember that moment because initially they fought against it. So this serves as a nice little reminder to those of you who can barely remember the point where did it go? Where did it all go wrong? They might think, depending on their position, if they're anti-flat earthers. When did I fall down this pit where I could stop just accepting the reality that I was told without giving it any concern or thought into being in this trench covered in mud, depressed, anxious, stressed out, worried about how I'm going to prove that which I just want to accept as being real without having to think about it at all. And every flat earther out there reminds me constantly that there's something that could be assessed that I don't want to. Let's get rid of all of them. Go in faith. If you want to be on a ball, that's up to you.
If I'm being dead ass, I don't really care if we're on a flat plane or a ball. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just glad to be alive. At the end of the day, that's all I really care about. But I mean, if you're right, thank you for educating me. I'll definitely look into it a bit more.
That's a nice rationalization. So he's gone, this is too much to cope with. I'm just glad I'm alive. You know, if it does turn out to be wrong, you know, there's things that are greater in concern. So he's gone to a primeval part of his brain to cope. And I think that's quite admirable. So he's gone to fight or flight. And he's recognized in that fight or flight moment, because he's fighting me, right? He's then gone, hang on a second. I'll live another day. That's basically what he's saying, isn't it? He's recognized the fight or flight response he's had and gone, I don't need this response. This won't kill me. This isn't a threat. So he's gone, I just recognize I'm alive, and that's the most important thing. In other words, this doesn't threaten me. I really like this guy. I like this video.
I have another take on it.
Navigate.
It seems like he. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, seems like he was. When he said that, I'm just happy to be alive. That he kind of realized, even maybe subconsciously, the larger implications of Earth being the center of reality. And he's like, I'm just glad to be alive. I think he's an atheist offhand, is what it seems like.
Yeah, maybe. What the other guy, the artist I spoke to, said the name of Jesus at this moment and then thanked me. This guy's done the same, right? He's gone, I'm just glad to be alive and thank you for educating me. And the artist was like, Jesus Christ, wow, thank you so much. So there is a lot of profound moments to be had in these little sessions, short though they are.
Good to hear these responses for a change instead of just, you know, anti-flat earth, just rubbishing your back with a lot of the crap that they sprout.
Yeah,
just getting honest reactions for a change instead of disingenuous ones.
Yeah, this guy isn't suddenly questioning how I educate my children off the back of it, is he? Measured, built on, and surveyed flat. But the way we actually deal with Earth and measure Earth is flat. And because it's part of your Western world religion, when you look things up, what you'll find is apologies for why it wouldn't need to be measured ball-shaped. So they'll say things like, this local area is flat. But that's only because it's a really big ball. But what are they actually doing? They're measuring it flat, like they did to create the maps and the globe. There you go.
See, yeah, you're making sense, but yeah, I mean, you've got to have someone that's highly educated on the opposition to hear both sides at the same time.
That's fair enough. I mean, what our opponents will do is they'll utilize the measurements of Earth, which is flat, to create a ball and then justify why you don't need to measure it ball-shaped. You can just get away with using things like elevation angles to stars off a flat plane, and that's okay. That's what they'll do. But don't take my word for it. Go and find out why you're on a ball that was made with flat Earth measurements from the opponent. I would. Because then you might still be okay to believe that religion you were in till 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
What's your name again?
I'll give you my nickname. My nickname's Ozzy. That's what all my friends call me.
Ozzy, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
Earth's
it's been a
measured
pleasure.
flat,
Thank
space
you.
is fake.
Yeah.
It was lovely talking to you.
Yeah, nice talking to you too.
Take it easy.
Yeah, you too.
That's it. So I have put together a playlist. So in Nathan Oakley 1980's front page, on my main channel's front page, there's a tab for playlists, and the top playlist is, I think I've called it FE space OME.tv. So all of these videos of this particular genre or variety are in that playlist if you want to see them all, one after the next. And based on the comments that I've had, that's why I don't typically put together playlists. I just section out 50 shows at a time for convenience on a playlist. But in this instance, lots of people have said the same thing, which is that they don't necessarily enjoy the long form format of a live show that could last up to 4 hours in some instances, but they'd rather watch 4 hours of non-stop clips back to back, like they're watching binge Netflix with Rick and Morty or something. So people will quite happily sit in front of these clips one after the next, rather than a non-stop unedited live stream. As bizarre as that is, I'm more than happy for you to consume clip after clip after clip, and if you want the convenience, there's a playlist so you can do exactly that. More power to you. Please share these videos. I think people like them. Any other comments? Ideally, while I'm pressing a few buttons, I've got a few comments, but silence is just as good. The audience loves it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying them. I think everyone's enjoying them. I think there was, I think some people was a little bit like, "Oh, what you doing, Nathan?" at first, and it's not going to be good. And but I think it's turned out well, and it's getting good comments, and it's going down well. Different, it's a different tact, and we're seeing a different response from just normal people who's been educated like we all have, when they're faced with
I like it.
the religious lie. Sorry, Neil, go on.
I said I like what Nathan's doing.
Well, thank you, Neil.
Get
Thank
not
you,
hurt.
Wande.
Everybody complains. We gotta grow. We gotta grow. We gotta grow. But then, once something's done about it, people complain. I'm not talking about Brian. I understand his concerns, but the overall outcome is only going to be good.
Okie dokie then. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Good stuff.
Oh, Discord sucks today.
How do you mean?
Just acting goofy.
Oh, the software itself?
So-
I thought you meant the people.
Are those videos getting pretty good views, Nathan?
Yeah, very. Yeah, I'm very pleased. Obviously,
Is there a vacuum in Discord?
What ideally I want is them to generate a lot more views and generate more interest in the channel itself. So, as has been the case on TikTok, some of them have generated tens of thousands of views. So ideally, one of them will do that on YouTube. You know what I mean? Someone will go, "Oh, I really like this, I'll share it." And then the person they share it with shares it, and so on and so forth.
They're getting like 10K views on TikTok, though. That's good.
Some of them are, yeah. Some of them are getting more than that. But that just suggests that there's a potential popularity for any of these short clips. And maybe there's 15 or 20 of them so far. But, it's just potentially a numbers game. But the only way that will work is if I suggest, like I would with the live show, that people do actually share them. In other words, they don't just leave a comment and go, "Oh, I love the video. This is going to be great. This will grow your channel." You're like, "Well, it will if you share it."
No, I think it'll take off pretty good. I mean, you've only been doing it for what, like a week, maybe
Yeah,
2.
1 week.
And the thing is, the vibe's completely different than. I mean, you're not dealing with zealots and psychopaths. You're just dealing with random
people that aren't even like the subject's not even in their mind. Half of them, I'm sure. So like the reaction's completely different. It's better.
There are some
Because I mean, the
nutcases.
people you talk to on here, they've been doing it for 5 years straight, arguing that flat Earth is stupid. So they're never going to change their mind, and the arguments are always going to stay the same.
Yeah, which is boring for the audience.
Even you watching yourself and reviewing yourself, it's always the same arguments, it's always the same beliefs that we're dealing with. So it's pretty it's meta and whatnot, but it's very concise to refine the argument of the argument that you've already made. It's pretty nice. It's good stuff.
Well, to deal with general normies, you've got to have a really, really broad understanding of the subject, because you never know what they're going to throw at you. So I'm privileged in the respect that I've got a really advanced understanding after doing it for 10 years to be able to just sit in front of a normie and not concern myself that they're going to throw me a curveball I haven't dealt with 5 times previously. So I'm reasonably happy in the fact that I can be quite relaxed doing it. Now, here, it's a totally different ball game. I said this yesterday. Just in terms of the technical level of the show, it's much, 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 much more difficult to run, having multiple different feeds with audio, all having to work with one another and interact with one another. Just keeping that all functioning is a challenge in itself. And you're dealing with the higher levels of competency in terms of anti-flat earth rhetoric that needs challenging. So this show is 100 times more stressful. But those Omi videos are 100 times more time consuming. So swings and roundabouts, isn't it? These you can get them out of once I've finished the 4 hours, let's say we do a 4-hour show, other than the uploading process, that's it. It's jobs are good once they're done.
I could imagine a short video of clips from all those, just little moments, like when that lady when the lady and the man in the car realized that the if there was no container, they'd die.
YouTube have actually given that as a facility now, right? So as a viewer, you can go in and very quickly hack out a quick section. So I think Mush uses that facility. So when he shares a video with me, what he's done is he's gone in and he's clipped out as a video as a viewer a section, and then it appears on his channel, and it notifies me in the stats that someone's done that. So for the sake of argument, if you're like, oh, that little 20-second clip would be so awesome if it stood alone as a clip, well, actually it can, and it then gets attributed to you as a statistic on your channel if you clip it out. So all of those clips that I get from Mush have all got his channel name attached to them as his clip, even though it is literally assisting the videographer that clips it. I really like that system. I hope people use it. Maybe I should just say that. Use that clip system if you want to, if you like a little bit like that when that girl and guy go, oh my god, we'd all be dead. Then go in. You can just press trim. You don't have to be a member. As long as you've actually got a channel, you can just trim it and have that 30-second trimmed out clip. And that, to say this, but I say it while trolling my eyes, typically would help algorithmically because it shows that someone's keen enough to want that section trimmed up. I mean, obviously I can do it too, but for the limitation I have in time. So yeah, I take on board what you're saying, but it's also worthy to point out that YouTube has a really nice feature, and that's why Mush can bosh, give me little clips from people's videos.
I've seen that.
You have I think you have to have a premium membership for YouTube.
You have to have a membership to do it. Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry. So it's members, or if you've got a subscription to YouTube Premium.
Yeah, that's all.
To have the clip feature.
YouTube. Yep.
I think I still, because I don't have YouTube Premium anymore, and I'm pretty sure I still have the clip feature.
I thought
where
I'd
I can like cut like.
I don't know.
Let me
Check
see.
it out.
I think
I
it's
guess
it
I'll
may be
see.
available to all. It might have originally been available only to premium subscribers of YouTube, but I vaguely remember seeing it and being able. No, I have. I've clipped out stuff. I remember clipping stuff out for the electrician when I was being raped by the electrical guy that was a fly-by-night. But that particular, I remember trimming out something about how my electricity functioned in this weird flat that it's got two separate feeds of electricity, and I remember clipping out a section that explained it and showing it to the electrician. So yeah, I'm certain that I've never been a premium member, and I'm obviously not a member of that channel. So yeah, I'm pretty sure anybody can do it.
It's still there. Yeah, because I let my membership run out like 2 months ago,
How dare
and
you?
yeah, I could still clip.
So make a clip. Make a clip right now of the video that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to
Prove
encourage.
it.
I'm going to encourage the audience to do that. Exactly. I'm going to say, look, if you like a little section, a little tidbit that lasts 20 seconds of one of these videos, it is now dead easy to do that as a viewer, and it helps your channel to show activity as a YouTube user, and obviously it helps share my videos. So there's often people who are in the audience that are like, well, either I'm too poor or I don't want to give you money. But it's like, well, yeah, but 20 seconds of your time and you could definitely be assisting the channel. Now, most of the time people are doing that because I'm asking them to share, and they do. So there's no reason why they wouldn't go, okay, well, it only takes 10 seconds to learn the new click, trim, move the scroll bar, move the other scroll bar, press end, and then that's it. It becomes a clip.
All right, I'll try to take advantage of it sometime. I will.
You know what? It's not working.
Well, we'll figure it out. Try it. Maybe you can do it. Maybe
Because
you
I
can't.
clicked on the little scissors icon, and it says you got to like title your clip, and I title the clip, and it just keeps like closing it. Like it won't let it stay open, so I can like pick where I want. Like as soon as I start moving the thing, it just like
You doing it on a phone?
clicks off of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably your device. But either
Oh
way,
yeah,
I'm
my
pretty
phone's
certain
terrible.
it's available to all. And don't get me wrong, obviously it's a new feature, so it might be that on your particular Samsung it might not work very well, in which case fine. Yeah, give up. But by the same token, it might just work instantly and be dead easy, and then you'll be like mush, boshing him out here, there, and everywhere. But typically he's helping Dave McKeegan with clips. I'd rather he was trimming out my videos.
I thought I could have swore I just used the clip feature recently. Like sometimes I'll clip things and put them in the chat.
Yeah.
I haven't done it in a while, but I feel like I've done it because I haven't had a YouTube Premium membership in. I said 2 months, but I think it's been more like 6. It has been a minute. I don't know. Not unless they just got rid of it.
It's the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel's got almost 200 members, you know. I remember being delighted that I'd got 10 and I could actually sort of generate one view on a member's video. Like I say, it's edging its way up to 200 members now. Quite astonishing. Again, I can remember having less than 100 subscribers, let alone members. Just got their mic open.
Been a good journey.
Go on. Whoever that was.
I was just saying it's been a good 6 years or so for me.
Good 6 years, Diego.
Oh no, that was Adam. Oh, sorry, talk Diego. My bad.
I think Diego just got his line open by coincidence, and someone's now server muted him. Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, that was Diego.
He was flashing while you were flashing, Adam, so I assumed that was him talking and it was you.
That's all right. That's all right. I was just saying it's been a good 6 years that I've been around now, I guess, and it doesn't seem like much has changed, but at the same time, a lot has changed, and it's cool to reflect on it. And, I started this whole thing with just thinking like, how does the South Pole work? And now I'm over here like, no, level means flat and gas fills space, and no one's gonna budge me on this. It's a pretty cool little stepstone.
Yeah, it was a long path to a nice open view at the end. And you look back on the path and go, I don't need to really tread that anymore. So it's good to hear, Adam, on account of the fact that I would hope that is what I impart on some people that come across the show. That is to say, there's a certain proportion of people that aren't actually interested in proactively debating, but they do want to learn how the arguments end. They do want a conclusion. It's what I wanted when I first got here. So, obviously, I'm going to tailor my show to be what I wanted it to be when I didn't have a show and was trying to fill a void that I saw in this community. There's an open space that needs filling here to advance everybody's understanding of the discussion. How are you going to get it? Well, by arguing about it with people who do know. So over a long period, like you say, it is a slow machine. The cogs turn slowly, and sometimes they'll tick on to the next tooth and you don't notice. But if you've gone through 2 or 3 teeth and you then leave and come back, you suddenly go, hang on a second, I'm not actually up to date with the flat earth debate here. I'm behind the times. I only stepped away for 6 months. I've come back and they're talking about X, and I want to talk about Y, like we were back in the day. I thought we would be talking about that forever. It seemed like it's all we did every day. You're like, yeah, we did. But slowly that cog moved on to another tooth, and then 2 more, and you missed all of them. So you just don't know what those cogs had to offer, because you weren't here as we slowly inched our way through the teeth. So yeah, it is a slow machine, but when you look back on the progress, as you put it, as you reflect on it, you see what massive bounds and leaps we've actually taken, to the point where we are now utilizing our opponent's position to show them how they require our position to make their claims, which is a fundamental turnaround from 10 years ago for me. I remember being racked in cognitive dissonance after the fact, because obviously you've got anti-flat earthers casting doubt. So you're questioning your own sanity at some stages. I just wanted to relieve people of that. Sorry, go on.
It's insulting. It's like, it's so obvious that it's insulting to yourself. You know what I mean? You go, oh yeah, gas fills space, and then in your head you have to go, but not that space. Yeah, level's flat, but it's got to be round too. And you hurt yourself at first, but then when you gain footing, when you gain composure, and you realize that, okay, you do know what you're talking about, you still have all this opposition, and they'll come at you with everything, and the answers are always usually so simple. And I'm not even gonna lie, I'm still missing some, especially when you say words like experiment or what was that? What's that? Not words like experiment, but like you talk about the Cavendish experiment or the double slit, or there's another one that's been going around. I can't remember offhand, but you get to the end of it, and it's just a sentence. It's gas fills space. It's level is flat, and you're still using the level. It's a beautiful thing to get to a core of an argument, especially after you've been so insulted and so traumatized with what the implications of being lied to your entire life, of being robbed your entire life and brainwashed. You've gotten to this spot where you're like, where is the world? Well, the world is with me, and it's level.
I know exactly what you're talking about. My example of that is Earth Curve Calculator. So agonizing over the calculations and the whys and wherefores of the observations in comparison to those maths. Agonizing over it, stressing over it. Fast forward 6 or 7 years, and now you just go, what do I use the calculator for? Oh, well, I use it when a fundamentalist tells me level isn't level, it's curving. Because Merriam-Webster says that it's curving when it's having no part higher, lower than the other, in contradiction to what it's just said when it comports the outside edge of a sphere. level moves around in a curved shape when referencing sea level, according to their citation. So what do I then pull out of my arsenal? Well, their own Earth curve maths has a surface level and an eye level parallel with it. So you and your citation from Merriam-Webster say level isn't level, but it's also having no part higher or lower than the other until it's in reference to the globe and sea level, then it's curved, comporting with the outside edge equidistant from the centre of a sphere. Well, if that's true, your maths fails because it uses flat Earth surface level in the maths. And just to make absolutely certain you know it's not curving, you've got eye level parallel with it. It wouldn't be and couldn't be parallel if it's comporting with the outside edge of a sphere equidistant from the centre of said sphere, as per their citation. So the only use for me now for Earth curve maths is to show how their Earth curve comes from measuring a flat plane. It's right there in the maths. It's labelled surface level. Very different view when you. I was just going to conclude. It's a very different view of the world when you're concluding how they need a flat Earth for their Earth curve maths versus agonising about how some stupid photograph gets put into orthographic view and explained away with an assumption of an R value. Further to that R value assumption now, you'd say, well, you need a flat Earth to derive that R value. The field is nice and open. Back in the day when it was an argument about the calculations and their comparison to photographs, there was a stress about how the maths may or may not work, what observation Anthony would acquire next at the Isle of Man. It was all very stressful. Now you go, you'll need a flat Earth for that. That's that one sentence that you said that it gets boiled down to. Earth curve maths, orthographic comparison, you'll need a flat Earth for that. Here it is in your maths surface level. Done. End of the argument.
It's really simple in the end, and you guys did a lot of work to get here. And even as an audience member, you know, we did a lot of work in our heads just to be here. And yeah, it's awesome. We're doing great. You're doing great. Everything's awesome.
Well, as we're starting to scratch each other's back a little bit too much, I'll probably round out on that note. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hope you're smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, keeping the lights on with Ko-Fi and PayPal and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.